In a secluded corner of the heavenly All Palace, amid biting wind and snow, a lone figure was sharpening and practicing. It was none other than the young master, Tianyun. Although he had no vital energy and could not cultivate, Tianyun had no intention of giving up. With iron determination, he once more spun his spear through the air, but after only a moment, his breathing grew ragged, sweat poured down. The heavy spear clanged as he slammed it into the snowy ground. Exhausted, Tianyun leaned on the shaft to steady himself. Yet his body could not take it, he staggered forward, unable to stand upright. The spear fell as well, ringing with a harsh sound. At that moment, a gentle voice suddenly called from behind, "Young master." Tianyun was still bent over retching, letting out a soft cough. The newcomer was Lu Menglian, a beautiful woman holding a warm cloak. She draped the cloak over him and reproached him, "Why are you out training again? Doing that will only hurt you." Helping him up, Tianyun, still weak and panting, replied, "Sister Lian, I'm fine, I just wanted to move around a bit. I'm the young master of Heavenly All Palace, how could I neglect cultivation?" Menglian's voice held a hint of scolding, "You say you're fine. The hall leader told me to bring you to the main hall. If she sees you like this, she'll worry again. How many times must I tell you before you listen?" Tianyun gave a wry smile, his voice low, "Sister Lian. I know my condition. I have no chi, if I keep training I could die, but even so, I won't give up easily." Menglian said nothing further, only sighed softly. Then she changed the subject, "Young master, we should go. The hall leader is still waiting for us in the main hall." Upon entering the main hall, what greeted him was not respect but contemptuous glances and sarcastic remarks from the other female disciples. What is someone like him doing here? They showed no attempt to hide their disdain, regarding Tianyun with cold eyes and cutting words. "I don't understand why the sect leader keeps this useless thing. Isn't he just relying on his aunt? Otherwise he'd have been expelled long ago. A man who only hides behind women." Each bitter word felt like a blade. Yet Tianyun did not argue, for deep down he admitted, they were not wrong. Beyond his status as young master, he was a cripple who couldn't cultivate and might die at any moment. But there was another reason, he was the son of the previous sect leader. Heavenly All Palace had a strict rule, the current sect leader must not have children. His mother broke that law, after giving birth to him she left with another man. At the thought of it, an indescribable sorrow rose in Tianyun's chest. Even now his mother's whereabouts were unclear. He clenched his fist. A dignified voice rang out, cutting through his wandering thoughts, "Tianyun, you're finally here. Have you been sneaking off to train again?" Those around immediately bowed respectfully to the sect leader. Before him stood Shirlei-yun, the sect leader of Heavenly All Palace. She possessed peerless beauty far surpassing the other women present, and emitted an imposing aura that inspired involuntary reverence. Tianyun avoided her scrutinizing gaze and softly called, "Aunt." "Tianyun, you look unwell. Are you alright?" "I'm fine." He forced out a reluctant lie to ease her worry. Childhood memories surfaced. This aunt had no blood relation to him, she was entrusted with him by the original owner's mother. In his memories, Shirlei-yun was like kin, always caring for and raising him. Whenever she practiced, she kept him by her side to prevent anyone from bullying him. Seeing him still distracted, Lei-yun showed displeasure. "Tianyun, why are you so unfocused?" She gently tapped Tianyun's forehead, her tone both reproving and caring. "You may not cultivate, but don't overexert yourself. Otherwise you'll suffer the consequences." Immediately her voice softened. "Right, I have something to give you." With that she produced an exquisitely crafted box with intricate patterns. Tianyun's eyes widened in surprise. Inside the box lay a pearl-like pill, the Dragon Blood Divine Pill. He was stunned. The Dragon Blood Divine Pill was extremely precious and could replenish a large amount of vital blood. To obtain it, his aunt must have paid a heavy price. Lei-yun seemed to read his thoughts. "Yes, this is the Dragon Blood Divine Pill. Take it and use it, it may restore and strengthen the blood energy in your body." Faced with this treasure, Tianyun looked hesitant. She gently stroked his head, giving him no chance to refuse, "No buts. Recovering your body properly is the greatest answer you can give me." Just then, a female disciple rushed in. "Sect leader, members of the Tianling sect have arrived. At the mention of that name, a cold light flashed in Tianyun's eyes. According to records in ancient texts and legends passed down for thousands of years, the powers on this continent are clearly divided into 5 tiers. 5th rank are divine nations, 4th rank are empires, 3rd rank are prefectures, 2nd rank are sects, and 1st rank are palaces. The Tianling sect is 1 tier above the heavenly all-palace. Lei Yun's expression grew displeased. She turned to Tianyun and instructed, "I'll go handle a few matters first, you stay here and rest well." Then she ordered in a low voice, "All disciples, follow me." Watching their backs as they left, Tianyun quickly understood the purpose of this visit. The Tianling sect had come to pressure the heavenly all-palace and vie for the chance to enter the ancient ruins. It was all, because he was too weak to help. Thinking this, Tianyun felt deep frustration and helplessness. He wondered whether a priceless pill like the Dragon Blood Divine Pill could restore even a little of his blood energy. He sighed. Just then, a dry cough suddenly sounded behind him. Tianyun startled and turned his head to look, his gaze wary. The newcomer was Fang Shen, an outer disciplined disciple of the heavenly all-palace, with several underlings behind him. He sneered coldly, his tone provocative, "Young master, can you let us use that Dragon Blood Divine Pill? We're so close to breaking through lately. Since it won't help you anyway, why not give it to us?" Tianyun's brows immediately knit. He replied coldly, "What if I say no?" He curled his lip in contempt, full of mockery, "You're nothing but trash, yet you dare stand before us?" Rage welled up in Tianyun. Pushed to the limit, he snarled, "Get lost." Fang Shen immediately flew into a rage and lunged without restraint, "I think you're tired of living." A punch struck his face before Tianyun could react. He only managed to groan. He lost his balance and fell face first to the ground. The box in his hand fell open, and the pill rolled out. Fang Shen's eyes lit up at once. "Oh. A pill." Tianyun recoiled in horror. Fang Shen laughed loudly, triumphant, "Ha ha. This Dragon Blood Divine Pill is mine now." He reached out to grab it. Summoning all his strength, Tianyun lunged and clutched his hand. "Let go." Amid the chaos, Tianyun threw all his strength into grabbing the pill and, without hesitation, shoved it straight into his mouth, swallowing it immediately so the others had no chance to snatch it. Fang Shen snarled like a wild beast, roaring, "How dare you eat my Dragon Blood Divine Pill? Do you want to die? Beat him." The 3 of them charged forward aggressively. "Even if I die, I won't give you the Divine Pill." Tianyun remained resolute, preferring death to submission. At that moment, a voice suddenly in his head, "Congratulations player Tianyun, you have successfully activated the Mad Level Up system." Tianyun looked around in horror. What is that sound? What's happening? He suddenly realized the 3 men before him were frozen in an extremely strange pose, as if time itself had stopped. Then a series of notifications appeared in his head. Player Tianyun received 1000 experience points. Congratulations player, level up, reached tier 1 of body refinement. Congratulations player, level up, reached tier 2 of body refinement. Feeling the dramatic change in his body, before he could fully grasp it the notifications continued. Congratulations player Tianyun, level up, reached tier 5 of body refinement. Immediately after, the system entered a temporary resource loading state. Tianyun clenched his fists, blood surging through his body. The rising power was almost unbelievable. Without hesitation, he punched Fang Shen in the abdomen and shouted, "Get out of my sight." Fang Shen was sent flying, collapsing to the ground and groaning in pain. His underlings cried out in fear. Even Tianyun himself was astonished by his current strength. A thrill welled up inside him. "This is the Mad Level Up system." Fang Shen scrambled up, disbelief on his face. You've reached tier 5 of body refinement." Impossible. In this world, power is the sole measure of status and rank. The realm's progress as body refinement, spirit refinement, core condensation, spirit transformation, pill transformation, spirit king, saint king, and god king. Tianyun had the clear upper hand. He felt intensely excited. He hadn't expected a single Dragon Blood Divine Pill to boost him so many levels. The next moment, Fang Shen suddenly collapsed to his knees, his whole body trembling like a leaf. "Master, please spare me. I was wrong. I won't try to take your pill again." Tianyun looked at him coldly. 1. Leave. 2. die. I'm giving you one chance. Having said that, he turned to leave. But at that instant, a sharp knife was suddenly drawn, reflecting the murderous look on Fong Shen's face. Fong Shen lunged at him crazily, roaring, "Then go die for me." The gleaming blade stabbed straight toward Tianyun, but fortunately, his reflexes were now extremely fast. He immediately twisted to dodge, and simultaneously blocked Fong Shen's attack. "Trying to stab me in the back." Tianyun gripped the assailant's wrist tightly, then used Fong Shen's own hand to force the blade back, making him stab himself. He delivered a powerful kick, sending him sliding across the ground. His eyes rolled back, void of any response. Immediately after, the two remaining underlings trembled in extreme terror. Tianyun's expression darkened when he realized the blade was poisoned. A series of notifications rang in his head. "Congratulations player for defeating Tianling sect disciple Fong Shen, received 300 experience points and 5 madness points. Congratulations, loot obtained, low-grade martial art for humans, eagle claw technique, Lakuo sword art, and a restorative pill." Tianyun couldn't help but be astonished. Treasure can drop too. Just like killing monsters in a game. A list of items appeared. Immediately after, the system displayed his info panel. Player, Tianyun level, 5 experience, 300/. Madness points, 5 cultivation method, none skills, eagle claw technique, Lakuo sword art divine artifact, mad level up system, level 1. Tianyun stared at the info panel, his heart racing. This was exactly like a game's attribute system. For someone familiar with games like him, it was perfectly clear. At that moment, a notification sounded. "Congratulations player Tianyun, you've activated the newbie reward. Do you want to open it?" A gift box icon appeared before his eyes. Tianyun did not hesitate. "Open." Instantly, a message popped up. Player received experience card X10, 1 hour duration, 2 restorative pills. Tianyun rejoiced. "Great. I came here with no abilities, yet there's this level up system. As long as I keep leveling, my stats will grow massively." His gaze landed on an entry called Mad Mode on the interface. Huh. There are multiple mad modes. He immediately clicked it. A confirmation box appeared. Mad mode can double effectiveness, including pill refining, using pills, attacking, and cultivation to gain experience. Tianyun couldn't help exclaiming, "Everything doubled, and this is only level 1. This is truly a divine skill." Tianyun quickly realized an important point. Cultivation efficiency could be doubled, and usage effects were also doubled. That meant using 1 pill would be equivalent to using 2. Then he reread the info. Mad mode, consumes 1 madness point per minute. At this, Tianyun cursed inwardly. What? It consumes 1 point per minute, and I only have 5 points, doesn't that mean it runs out in a few minutes? What else can I use? This reward came from defeating Fong Shen, but it was clearly far too little. Just then, the panicked screams of the 2 underlings pulled Tianyun back to reality. Fong Shen. Fong Shen is dead. One trembling underling looked at Tianyun. You killed Fong Shen." Tianyun replied calmly, "Did I kill him? If he hadn't tried to kill me first, I wouldn't have acted." At that moment, Lei Yun and the female disciples returned. The scene before them shocked many people. "Oh my, someone is dead." Fong Shen lay on the ground twisted, eyes rolled back, mouth agape. An elderly voice rang out, "Mistress of the palace, what happened?" They were people from the Tianling sect, led by second elder Zhao Hualong. Behind him was Fong Yun. Lei Yun kept calm and replied, "Elder Zhao, about this matter." But before she could finish, Fong Yun had seen the body on the ground. He let out a cry and rushed forward. Fong Shen. He grabbed the body, his face turning ferocious. Brother is dead." His eyes were bloodshot and murderous as he turned to Tianyun. "Did you kill my brother?" Tianyun remained calm. "He tried to seize my dragon blood divine pill, I refused, and he attacked first. I only retaliated." The long-haired underling immediately protested loudly, "No. We didn't try to steal the dragon blood divine pill." The remaining man chimed in, "That's right. We were just passing by. Who knew he would suddenly attack us? How could our people possibly steal the pill?" Zhao Hualong heard this and his face turned ugly. "Mistress of the palace, you need to give us an explanation for this matter. We brought our outstanding disciples here to exchange and build relations between the two sides. We never expected something like this to happen. A dark glint flickered in his eyes. Lei Yun asked bluntly, so what do you want? Fang Yun immediately pointed at Tian Yun, voice frantic, he killed my brother. I demand a life-or-death duel with him. Hearing that, Hualong also applauded in agreement. Indeed, our two houses cooperate and have clarified matters before. As long as one doesn't enter forbidden areas, there are no penalties. Now one of our disciples was injured and Fang Shen was even killed, he said calmly. We cannot let this slide. The offenders must receive a fair verdict. Let him represent you in a match, contest once on the martial platform. Win or lose, we will then let it go. Immediately, Lei Yun stepped in front of her junior. He is not eligible to be chosen, pick another disciple. Hualong feigned regret, but his words were venomous. Mistress, this isn't about eligibility, he has challenged the authority of the Tianling sect. It seems you intend to provoke a rift between our houses. Her stance was resolute, eyes blazing with killing intent. No. Everyone except him may be chosen. The female disciples glared at Tian Yun with hatred. That useless brat, his blood energy is insufficient. If he enters the arena he'll surely die and cause Heavenly All Palace to lose. Yes, that cripple caused such a big incident, doesn't he only bring trouble to Heavenly All Palace? Hualong sneered, if I recall correctly, he is the son of the previous palace leader. Rumor says his blood energy is lacking and he could die at any moment. No wonder the leader didn't want him to participate. He remained adamant that Tianyun be chosen to duel. Makes sense, letting a useless weakling with insufficient blood energy into the match gives no hope. But since he challenged the authority of my Tianling sect, even a cripple must take the stage. Otherwise it's an insult to our sect. Lei Yun stepped forward, clenching her fist. A moment later, she decisively slapped Hualong. He clutched his face, barely able to stand. Mistress, what do you mean by this? Would you stir a dispute between our houses over a useless brat? Lei Yun snorted coldly, full of contempt. Speak if you have something to say, if not, be silent. Has Elder Zhao not heard? Useless. If he is useless, then what does that make the person lying on the ground? Trash. Hualong was thoroughly provoked but tried to remain composed. The mistress slapped me, this is an insult. This matter cannot be resolved with mere words. If I'm wrong, why not let him fight? His expression turned dark as a demon. I'm not being difficult, he injured our disciple and must give us an answer. Lei Yun refused to yield, murderous intent radiating from her. I'll say it again, I believe Tianyun wouldn't attack recklessly. You wanted to seize his dragon blood divine pill and stubbornly pin this blame on him? Don't expect me to be polite. Seeing this, Tianyun thought inwardly, this was the aura of a core condensation expert. The female disciples immediately drew their weapons, ready to fight. The male disciples on the other side matched them. The combat tension tightened like a drawn bowstring. But before the two sides could rush at each other, Tianyun declared loudly, I'll take this match. I'll represent Heavenly All Palace. Those words stunned everyone. The system immediately chimed, task accepted, defeat the disciple of the Tianling sect and secure victory for Heavenly All Palace. He murmured, to secure victory for Heavenly All Palace. His gaze grew cold, and he murmured, this mission suits me. The system's reward was generous, 10,000 experience points, 200 taels of gold, and a set of Heavenly General armored mail. Tianyun looked at the icons for the armor and the 200 taels on the screen and thought, this reward is pretty substantial. He quickly did the math in his head, completing the task would yield a good harvest, especially experience points. Only the treasure seemed a bit low in grade. In this world, weapons and treasures were ranked in tiers, lowest being mortal iron and highest divine artifacts. But this was only a beginner task, so rewards at the mortal iron level were normal. A calculating glint flashed in Tianyun's eyes. Hualong laughed heartily, stroking his beard by habit. Ha ha ha, fine. The party concerned has agreed, so the palace mistress has nothing more to say, right? Lei Yun's expression was full of worry. Tianyun, don't say anything reckless, this is not a joke. He exhaled, eyes resolute, if I don't take part in the battle, can I still be called a man? I'm not fit to be protected by you. Tianyun's eyes widened with determination. Then he faced Lei Yun and said loudly, agree to this duel. Lei Yun had to relent, very well. She nodded slightly, looking straight at him, I agree to this duel. Hualong smiled smugly, good. Meet on the arena in half a month. Then it's a life or death duel, no concern for life or death. Tianyun set a condition, no problem, but in this life or death match, the contests of other disciples cannot count on my behalf. Hualong was inwardly annoyed but outwardly agreed, this is your feud, of course it's allowed. With that settled, Hualong waved his hand, let's go. Fang Yun punched him in the head, then gritted his teeth and spat through clenched teeth, threatening, prepare your coffin first. When they had gone some distance, Lei Yun spoke in a low voice, disperse. Yes, mistress. All the disciples quickly left. As they went, the female disciples couldn't help whispering, that useless brat really caused trouble. This match could affect our sex reputation. Indeed, no skill yet dares to accept a duel. Although he was lucky to kill Fang Shen, Fang Yun is no comparison to him. The whispers slowly faded down the corridor. Lei Yun and her junior stood by the window, she smiled to comfort him. Don't force yourself then. Losing is fine, just keep your life, and everything else can be discussed. Tianyun looked straight into her eyes, full of confidence, do you trust me? The question stunned Lei Yun, she had never seen such determination in her junior before. I trust you. She nodded, of course trusting him unconditionally. She reached out and gently stroked his neck, hesitating, but everything depends on strength, if your body. Tianyun cut her off immediately, I will definitely win. He smiled, pure as a child, besides, even if I die, I'd rather not kneel to live. Let me be serious this once. His voice turned low, eyes tinged with pain, I don't want you to be gossiped about anymore, nor do I want you to suffer humiliation. Those words made Lei Yun's cheeks flush. She wondered why her junior had suddenly grown up. What is this foolish child babbling about? Tears welled at the corners of her eyes, she was completely moved by his words. Tianyun wiped her tears with his hand and teased with a smile, what foolish child? How much older are you than me anyway? Then he beamed, you can still call me your little brother, right? Then he grinned brightly, you can still call me your little brother, right? Dike Thien Van's residence sat in a quiet corner, its curved tile roof graceful, every carved detail exquisite. Tianyun sat on the bed, preparing to check the rewards, I just received the level 5 reward and haven't opened it yet. Let's see if there's anything good. The system gave 2 beeps and announced, congratulations, you've unlocked the lucky spin feature. You received 3 recovery pills, the skill Great Art Absorbing Essence, the cultivation method Divine Technique of Northern Bright, and a reward that boosts to level 11. Tianyun couldn't help exclaiming in surprise, what the? Great Art Absorbing Essence and Divine Technique of Northern Bright. He felt very intrigued, just reached level 5 and already got God tier martial arts. What higher martial arts might I get later? He opened the lucky spin and pressed the button in the center of the screen. Wow! Immediately a huge wheel appeared before him. At a glance it looked lucrative, but on closer inspection not so much, consumables took up over half, skills and cultivation methods were few, and divine techniques were extremely rare. By ratio, probably only 1 in 10,000, they're teasing me. The system confirmed, because you unlocked the spin feature, the system grants 1 free spin. Do you want to start now? Tianyun didn't hesitate, spin. It's free anyway. A pleasant sound rang out and the wheel began to move. It spun faster and faster, making his heart pound and sweat break out. Divine technique, he muttered repeatedly, his hand trembling unconsciously. Then the wheel gradually slowed. It must stop on a divine technique. Tianyun sat restlessly, watching each slot pass by. Finally, the wheel stopped on the weapon slot. He sprang up from the bed, excited. Oh, a weapon. A pair of metal gloves materialized. Congratulations, player, you have obtained the weapon, Frostbone Fist. Tianyun's eyes lit up, Frostbone Fist. After reading the info panel, he couldn't help but admire it, the slow effect was indeed powerful, almost like a divine skill. Unfortunately, this fist set was only low-tier mortal iron grade. But in the system everything can be upgraded, given the right conditions it can be raised over time. Tianyun continued to operate the screen to view other information. The status panel appeared: Player, Dike Thien Van Level, 5, Body Refinement, Tier 5, Experience, 300 out of 1000 Mad Value, 5 Cultivation Method, Divine Technique of Northern Bright, Divine Grade, Mastery 0 Firsts, Skill, Great Art Absorbing Essence, Human Rank, Mastery 5/1000, Weapon, Frostbone Fist, Mortal Grade, Mastery 5/1000, Mad Mode. Not activated, requires 100,000 Mad Value points. Tianyun calculated silently, level up value starts at 1000 points, these aren't too hard, just need experience. But then he sighed. The Mad Value needs 100,000 points, that's maddening. He currently had only 5 points, all gained from killing Fengshen. Is killing monsters the only way to earn it? If so, that's terrifying, like trading lives for points. So Tianyun asked, what's the condition for the lucky spin? The system replied, hint, the lucky spin requires 1000 Mad Value points per spin. Hearing that number, he was horrified. 1000 Mad Value points, he became even more dispirited. Forget it, better not bother with this for now. Now Tianyun shifted to thinking about strategy. His cultivation was at Body Refinement Tier 5, Fang Yun was at least 2 tiers stronger. It seemed the thing to do now was raise his Mad Value, only by improving his cultivation could he hope to win this duel. At that thought, his eyes flashed with determination. Night fell, the moonlight reflecting on his back as he sat meditating in the room. Tianyun's eyes suddenly opened, as if he'd made up his mind about something. Then he kicked off the roof and slipped away silently, unnoticed by anyone. Agile of body, he moved across the steep rock faces, stopping only after a long while. A confident smile spread across Tianyun's lips. I'm here. Surrounding him was a pack of massive white-furred wolves, their bloodthirsty eyes fixed on prey. Standing among them, Tianyun said, it's been a while. He looked around and realized, indeed, in his memory this wasn't his first time here. The original owner of this body had once tried to take the snow wolf's core to alter his blood chi and nearly lost his life. A wolf let out a fierce snarl, and lunged forward to attack. Tianyun felt no fear, he had changed. He grabbed his spear and thrust it straight at the charging wolf. The wolves behind surged at once. Tianyun said calmly, perfect timing. He spun his spear and struck backward, stopping 2 wolves. The force was so strong they were halted instantly, unable to advance. He circulated his chi and unleashed eagle claw technique. His hand seized a wolf's neck and immediately subdued it. He laughed with delight, haha, the power of eagle claw technique is truly useful. Try this next. He followed up with a strike of the great art absorbing essence. Lightning flickered in Tianyun's eyes, and a chilling light from his body quickly seeped into the wolf's blood vessels. The system announced. Gained 1 experience point. 2 points. 3 points. 12 points. 13 points. 36 points. 37 points. Congratulations, you have successfully slain a snow wolf, earning 50 experience points and 3 Mad Value points. The wolf was reduced to a tuft of skin and bone, utterly lifeless. Tianyun tossed the carcass to the ground, eyes shining. He looked at his hand and couldn't help exclaiming, no wonder it's called Great Art Absorbing Essence, it devours an opponent's spiritual power and even grants experience. Writing his success, Tianyun said happily, not bad, let's keep going. Immediately the system announced repeatedly. Congratulations, you have successfully slain a snow wolf, earning 50 experience points and 3 Mad Value points. Congratulations, you have successfully slain a snow wolf, earning 50 experience points and 3 Mad Value points. Congratulations, you have successfully slain a snow wolf, earning 50 experience points and 3 Mad Value points. Tianyun felt his blood surge fiercely and internal power fill his meridians. His steps became more lithe and effortless than ever. He told himself, from now on I am a cultivator. With so many snow wolves ahead, I must not waste this opportunity. Tianyun took out the frostbone fist and said excitedly, perfect timing, let's test my equipment. He circulated his chi and activated frostbone fist. Numerous cold force streams erupted, striking straight ahead. The wolves couldn't resist at all and were quickly flung aside. The system announced. Congratulations, you have successfully slain 5 snow wolves, receiving 250 experience points and 15 mad value points. Even Tianyun couldn't believe how powerful the fist set was. Each snow wolf gave 50 experience points. If paired with such an efficient weapon, it must be combined with the other. He immediately used a 10-fold experience card. Tianyun looked at the wolves and shouted challengingly, "All of you, attack at once." The two sides immediately charged into close combat. A chaotic battle erupted. Tianyun shouted loudly, slaughtering without hesitation. The system kept sending notifications. Congratulations, you have successfully slain 7 snow wolves, receiving 3,500 experience points and 21 mad value points. Congratulations, you have successfully slain 9 snow wolves, receiving 4,500 experience points and 27 mad value points. Congratulations, you have successfully slain 5 snow wolves, receiving 2,500 experience points. After a fierce bout of fighting, Tianyun grew exhausted. He stopped, panting heavily, huff, huff, huff. Suddenly a dazzling radiance burst from his body. The system announced. Congratulations, you have advanced to the 6th tier of body refinement. Congratulations, you have advanced to the 7th tier of body refinement. Congratulations, you have advanced to the 8th tier of body refinement. To level up 3 tiers at once was truly sublime. Suddenly a long howl rang out from the other side. Tianyun immediately looked over. On the high cliff stood a snow wolf king with unusually pure white fur. Tianyun was utterly astonished. This wolf king even had its name displayed in gold, clearly a boss. The system displayed a quest. Quest accepted, kill the snow wolf king and eliminate the threat. Completion reward, 50,000 experience points, plus summoning the snow wolf king as a mount. Seeing this, Tianyun couldn't help but marvel at how incredible the reward was. He gave a confident smile. Under normal circumstances the Snow Wolf King would rather die than become a mount, but with this reward, it's a must-get. The Snow Wolf King let out a roar and lunged to attack. Its speed was terrifyingly fast and powerful. Tianyun charged to meet it, shouting, "Come on, give me your best." Two forces collided with a deafening explosion. The battle raged fiercely, outcome unclear, with dust billowing everywhere. Half a month later. Those standing in the courtyard anxiously asked, "Where is Dike Thien Van?" Zhao Hualong pointed at Thien Leiyun and demanded, "Palace Lord Thien, did you perhaps release him? Today you must give me an answer." Fuang Yun ground his teeth, voice full of hatred, "If that trash ran away, what will my brother's vengeance be?" The head of Heavenly All Palace replied calmly, "Tianyun said he would not run, a man of his word. Please do not be impatient." Zhao Hualong shouted angrily, "Humph. A worthless brat, so what if he's here? Heavenly All Palace killed my disciple first, then reneged on the duel. Is such a sect fit to enter the ancient sky legend?" Hearing this, Lei Yun thought to herself, "Of course he's still after the ranking." Zhao Hualong continued to threaten, "If the murderer has fled, Heavenly All Palace must." But before he finished, a voice rang out, "Why would I run?" Everyone startled and turned, to see Dike Thien Van standing on the roof. He said cheerfully, "What I promised, I will certainly do." Having spoken, Tianyun jumped down. A woman gasped in surprise, "I thought he had run away." A Zhou sneered, "That shabby look, could he have been hiding in the mountains all this time?" Then she frowned slightly, "I just feel like there's something different about him." Tianyun was now grimy-faced and gaunt, but his eyes shone sharply. He looked at everyone and gave a small smile. Fuang Yun shouted, "Not gone yet. Seems you have some backbone. Now that you're here, Palace Lord Thien, may we begin?" Whispers immediately rose all around, "Why has he returned? Ha, his return will only bring trouble." Only Ti Leiyun trusted him. In her heart she thought, Tianyun has finally arrived. Zhao Hualong smiled inwardly, with this connection, they would surely win. Everyone quickly filed into the arena. The match was best of 5, first to 3 wins, the victor would earn a slot to enter the ancient legend. Zhao Hualong asked, "Best of 5, who from your side will step up?" Tianyun replied confidently, of course it's me. The palace lord took his hand and cautioned carefully. Tianyun, don't force yourself. Remember, even in a life-or-death duel you may concede defeat. He smiled and said, if I concede, wouldn't that make me unworthy of your protection? And, having said that, Tianyun turned and stepped onto the stage. Lei Yun stood motionless, watching his thin back. On the other side, Zhao Hualong said, this round, Fuang Yun, you go up. He answered, understood, second elder. In his heart old Zhao thought, his brother died at Dike Tianyun's hands, this time he will show no mercy. That mongrel will surely die. Zhao Hualong loudly proclaimed, this round life or death doesn't matter, you may concede. But unless you jump off the stage, conceding is meaningless. The two stepped into the arena, everyone around watching tensely. Fuang Yun launched a preemptive strike, voice full of hatred, humph. You trash have no chance of leaving this stage. I'll kill you so you know the consequences of killing my brother. Tianyun replied coldly, is that so? Then show me your move, I'll take it. Fuang Yun immediately rushed forward to attack. Let's see how much strength you really have. He circulated his chi and unleashed the demon claw technique. Lei Yun stood below and said softly, worried, don't worry, Tianyun, even if you concede, I'll still save you. Zhao Hualong sneered with satisfaction, you really think he has a chance? Fuang Yun's hand struck straight forward, yelling, die. Yet Tianyun easily caught his arm, which was as hard as stone. He immediately used Great Art Absorbing Essence, a move that sent Fuang Yun collapsing to the ground. He cried out in alarm, what? Zhao Hualong watched this and couldn't hide his astonishment. What cultivation technique is that? Fuang Yun felt his life energy being sucked dry and screamed in pain, my spiritual power. The system kept announcing, gained 1 experience point. 2 points. 3 points. 16 points. 17 points. He thrashed wildly, shouting, let me go. Tianyun smiled, exhilarated. The system continued accumulating experience, 23 points. 24 points. 33 points. 34 points. 56 points. 57 points. At that moment, a small hidden dagger suddenly slid out from Fuang Yun's sleeve. Lei Yun immediately realized it was poison. Tianyun is in danger. She tried to rush into the arena but Zhao Hualong stopped her. He warned, Palace Lord T, don't disrupt the rules. She circulated her chi and shouted, stand back. At that moment a cry rang out on the arena, "Ah! Ah!" The dagger plunged into Fuang Yun's chest. He trembled, face turning ashen, and a faint green gas rose from the wound. Tianyun kicked him and shouted, poison again, truly like brother like brother. Zhao Hualong cried out in panic, Fuang Yun, then immediately rushed out to catch his disciple. But the poison had already taken effect. Fuang Yun vomited blood and died instantly. Zhao Hualong was filled with grief, grinding his teeth, his whole body trembling with hatred. At that moment the system announced, congratulations, you have slain Fuang Yun, disciple of Tian Lin sect, gaining 700 experience points and 20 mad value points. Congratulations, you have obtained spoils, a restorative pill. Dike Thien Van breathed a sigh of relief. One match was over. The female disciples of Heavenly All Palace whispered among themselves, is this really Dike Thien Van? Wasn't he a cripple? How could he be so formidable? The palace lord thought silently, Tianyun, what on earth happened? Your strength now rivals that of a body refinement disciple of the 7th or 8th tier. Zhao Hualong said coldly, eyes full of suspicion, brutal. So your cultivation is that high, no wonder you could kill Fuang Shen. Tianyun replied nonchalantly, they all died by the poisoned blades they carried. In a life and death fight, if you don't counterattack, the one who dies is me. Seeing him so resolute, Zhao Hualong could only utter, you. He thought to himself that this brat absolutely could not be spared. A notification rang out, first match, Dike Thien Van of Heavenly All Palace wins. The palace lord exhaled and said, Tianyun, you may step down now. Zhao Hualong suddenly called out, wait a moment. Who said he could step down? Killing a disciple of Tian Lin sect and then wanting to leave. He tossed Fuang Yun's body to the side and slowly rose to his feet. Lei Yun retorted angrily, Elder Zhao, you want to kill Dike Thien Van and yet won't let us concede. Seeing Tianyun win and you still want a rematch, does the righteous Tianlin sect stoop to such despicable behavior? She turned to Tianyun and said, "Come down quickly and recover, don't push yourself." He looked at her with confidence, then answered the palace lord, "I'm fine. Do you want me to remain the cripple they expect?" Hearing this, Lei Yun could only fall silent. She looked at his confident face and thought inwardly, Tianyun never defied me before, what happened to change him so much in such a short time? Zhao Hualong said, "If you stay on the stage any longer you'll become a cripple." He ordered, "Mao Cheng, you go up for this round." Mao Cheng, an elite disciple of Tianlin sect with deep internal strength and powerful ability, immediately obeyed, "Yes, Elder Zhao." Those below watched with great worry. Mao Cheng. This looks dangerous, can Dike Thien Van still win? He is a 9th-tier body refinement disciple. Mao Cheng stepped onto the stage and calmly addressed Tianyun. "You are indeed formidable, but your movements are too rigid, not agile, your bursts of power too weak, and your speed too slow. If you can withstand 3 of my moves, I'll concede personally." Tianyun clasped his hands in salute, "Thanks for the guidance, senior brother Mao. But to be defeated by just 3 moves shows you're truly naive. If that's the case, I can finish you with a single move." Mao Cheng stood stunned for a moment, at a loss for words. Zhao Hualong showed displeasure, "This brat has some cultivation, but his mind is truly flawed, far too arrogant." Mao Cheng said, "First move." He executed the floating cloud step, in an instant his figure split into multiple afterimages. He laughed loudly and asked Tianyun, "Ha ha, can you clearly see my position?" The palace lord of Heavenly All Palace immediately recognized it as the Tianlin sect supreme art, the floating cloud step. Thien Van sneered, "Huh, that's all you've got." Then he launched an extremely powerful kick, striking his opponent in the face. But immediately afterward he realized it was only an illusion. Thien Van thought inwardly, didn't I hit him? Why did it vanish?" Mao Cheng laughed heartily, "You actually think you can touch me?" He stroked his chin and said, "The floating cloud step I'm using is the Tianlin sect supreme art. What you struck was only my afterimage." Thien Van admired the swift footwork. He immediately delivered a strike backward, shouting, "Talk too much, die, but only hit empty air." Thien Van felt annoyed, "Damn, just afterimages again, I can't hit him at all." At that moment a voice full of killing intent sounded behind him, "Trash, you can die now." Mao Cheng launched an eagle claw technique. As Thien Van turned, he saw a hand with sharp, iron-like claws snatching straight at him. The female disciples below saw this and shouted, "Dodge quickly, young master." One maiden covered her face in panic, "There's no time, this time the young master will surely." Zhao Hualong laughed loudly, delighted, "Ha ha, not bad. This one move will strip that trash down to nothing. This is the fate of those who dare offend Tianlin sect." However, just as the situation turned critical, a flash of light blazed. Thien Van also executed an eagle claw technique to parry. His arm seized Mao Cheng's wrist, leaving him astonished. "What?" Thien Van laughed giddily, "Ha ha, I was waiting for this strike to catch you." Zhao Hualong couldn't hide his shock. "That Dike Thien Van even knows our Tianlin sect's eagle claw technique." Mao Cheng frowned and shouted, "You stole our sect's eagle claw technique." His body suddenly swelled, a huge hand snapping down to grab Thien Van, lifting him up. "Then I'll open your eyes to what true eagle claw technique is." Thien Van gripped his wrist tightly and replied slowly, "I'm not interested in this eagle claw technique. Catching you is enough." With that, he quickly used great art absorbing essence. Mao Cheng's face immediately changed, "Not good." The female disciples, seeing his expression shift, wondered, "Strange, Mao Cheng's momentum was terrifying a moment ago, why is he powerless after touching the young master?" Zhao Hualong exclaimed, "It's that heretical art again. Mao Cheng, cut off that trash's tail quickly." Hearing this, Thien Van sneered with scorn, trying to run. "Now he can't even stand." He taunted, "What's the matter? Mao Cheng, why are you kneeling?" Mao Cheng's pride was wounded. Though nearly drained of life energy, he still barked, "Let go. Damn it. Mao Cheng, am I being forced like this by a trash like you?" But no matter how he tried, he couldn't get up. Mao Cheng said miserably, "Why do I have no strength to resist? I have no face left to live in this world. With that, he produced a black pill. Pouring his remaining strength into it, he forcefully circulated his chi. Let's die together. A deafening explosion erupted with blinding light. Those below screamed, "Aya!" The oppressive force was terrifying, causing everyone to shield their faces. The palace lord cried in horror, "Thien Van." After a while the smoke and dust gradually cleared, but the two were nowhere to be seen on the arena. Zhao Hualong sighed in dismay, "It's all over. Because of that cripple, a genius like Mao Cheng was wasted. Ha, what a pity." Unexpectedly, at that moment, Thien Van slowly crawled up from the hole in the arena floor. He muttered, "Mao Cheng truly died in vain, but I'm still alive." Zhao Hualong saw this, his pupils contracting, and he cried in horror, "What?" At that moment the system announced, "Congratulations, you have slain Mao Cheng, gaining 800 experience points, 35 mad value points, acquiring the floating cloud step body technique and a restorative pill." Thien Van's face was smeared with dirt, he wiped his brow and crookedly smiled, "Huff. Fortunately I used a restorative pill at the crucial moment. Floating cloud step. Ha, not a bad haul this time, big profit." The steward shouted, "Second match, Dyke Thien Van of Heavenly All Palace wins." The girls cheered joyfully, "He won. He really won. Young master is amazing." One girl couldn't hide her admiration and exclaimed, "Young master, you are truly strong." T. Lei-yun breathed a sigh of relief, looking at Thien Van with affection. Suddenly, a loud shout came from the other side, "Dyke Thien Van." Zhao Hualong and the Tien Lin sect members glared at him. He raised his voice, "There are limits in combat. You practice forbidden arts and strike cruelly, killing 2 of my disciples in succession. Today we'll make this clear to Tien Lin sect." Thien Van snorted in reply, "Your memory is really poor. Fuang Yun in the first match died from his own poison. And the foolish Mao Cheng just self-destructed. Now you want to pin all the blame on me. You say it's a life-or-death duel, and I only did what needed to be done. If you can't bear the consequences, don't challenge." Zhao Hualong was momentarily speechless. "You," Thien Van warned coldly, "stop babbling. Send up your last fighter, I'll see this through." The palace lord spoke anxiously, "Thien Van, that's enough, leave the rest to us." Zhao Hualong immediately cut him off, "No. He agreed to duel, the final match must continue." Then he unleashed powerful surges of energy, encircling Dyke Thien Van. T. Lei-yun immediately circulated her chi, transforming it into countless small snowflakes to restrain his force. She said slowly, "Elder Zhao, Thien Van has fought 2 consecutive matches. Letting someone else take the last one isn't breaking the rules." Thien Van stood on the arena, watching the covert clash of force between the two. Zhao Hualong replied coldly, "Palace Lord T, this is his choice. If he wins the final match, I'll reward him with a Fa Lin Dan." Everyone was astonished at the mention of a Fa Lin Dan. This pill can help a user break directly from body refinement to spirit refinement. Zhao Hualong was truly staking a lot this time. Thien Van uttered an "oh" of interest, "a Fa Lin Dan. Unexpected luck. I'll take this duel." Zhao Hualong smugly, then proceed to the next match. He thought inwardly, once this brat agrees, I'll have a chance to finish him. The palace lord called to Thien Van, his gaze showing concern. He reassured her, "Miss, rest assured." Zhao Hualong ordered with hostility, "Tru Fong, you fight the final match. Don't hold back, cripple him." Tru Fong, taller than average, immediately stepped onto the arena and replied confidently, "No problem. Zhao Hualong promised, I'll help you deal with him, as long as you win." Tru Fong, an elite disciple of Tien Lin sect, stood before Thien Van. He drew the spear from his back and said sternly, "You killed our people, today you'll pay." With that, he thrust the spear's tip hard into the arena floor. Tru Fong shouted loudly, his fury erupting violently. The long spear in his hand must weigh at least 300 to 400 caddies. A 7th-tier body refinement cultivator can already wield such a heavy weapon. T. Lei-yun watched worriedly. She thought to herself, it seems Elder Zhao has planned everything. If close combat can't beat Thien Van, switch to weapons. Reach equals power, This time getting close won't be easy. Thien Van's techniques will be hard to execute. On the arena, Tru Fong finished preparations and said, I won't fight an unarmed man. Go fetch a weapon, I'll give you the chance. Thien Van remarked, your spear's might is indeed considerable. The palace lord asked, Thien Van, do you need a weapon? He replied confidently, without hesitation, no need, your grace. I already have a weapon. Zhao Hualong laughed loudly, his tone full of sarcasm. Haha, what's the difference without a weapon? Ti Leiyun asked anxiously, Thien Van, how will your weapon handle him? She thought inwardly, Thien Van's footwork isn't extremely agile, dodging must have drained him. If he uses fists, how can he close the distance? Tru Fong provoked again, if you insist on courting death, don't blame me. Thien Van replied calmly, be my guest. Tru Fong began to circulate his chi and perform martial techniques. Giant spear tips shot up from the ground around Thien Van, sharp and cold. Tru Fong shouted, spear descends and subdues the dragon. His eyes went milky white, veins bulging with blood. Ti Leiyun immediately sensed something wrong and cried in alarm, not good. This is a sign of overdosing on elixirs. Thien Van, get off the stage now. Tru Fong swung his spear, delivering an extremely powerful downward strike. Thien Van found himself in a difficult position, surrounded on all sides while facing an attack from above. People screamed in panic, ah! He's being hit again, it's too brutal. Yet he simply smiled indifferently and immediately executed the floating cloud step. Tru Fong saw his opponent's figure split into many shadows, momentarily thrown into confusion, and exclaimed in shock, what? You also know the floating cloud step. He poured all his strength into a fierce forward strike. A thunderous explosion sounded as the arena floor was blasted into a large crater. Right after Tru Fong landed, he suddenly felt something lock his legs. Looking down, he cried in horror, my legs are frozen. In an instant, his entire body was frozen solid. A series of cracking sounds rang out, and Tru Fong's body shattered into many pieces. Thien Van stood there, gasping, huff, huff. I won. In his hand, the frostbone fist still emitted icy chill. Those around couldn't believe their eyes, everyone stood stunned for a long moment. Zhao Hualong panicked inwardly, what on earth is happening? He not only knows the eagle claw technique, he also knows the floating cloud step, and so many other heretical arts. The steward shouted, Dike Thien Van of Heavenly All Palace wins. The crowd immediately erupted, he won. He won. Our young master won. Ti Leiyun breathed a sigh of relief, finally it's over. At that moment the system announced, congratulations to player Dike Thien Van for slaying Tru Fong, a disciple of Tien Lin Sect, receiving 700 experience points and 30 mad value points. Congratulations on completing the quest chain, received 10,000 experience points, 1 set of heavenly angel armor, and 200 taels of gold. Congratulations to player Dike Thien Van on leveling up to first tier spirit refinement. Player info, level 11, first tier spirit refinement, experience 1273/300,000, mad value 698. Thien Van was overjoyed, another set of heavenly angel armor and 200 taels of gold, enough to last a while. The system continued to announce, skill great art absorbing essence upgraded to human rank, divine grade, proficiency 378/1000. Skill eagle claw technique upgraded to human rank, divine grade, proficiency 378/1000. Equipment, snow wolf boots. Skills, floating cloud step, Lak Yuong sword technique. Thien Van said excitedly, finally I qualify to open the level 11 gift pack. At this time, the sun had risen high and the match officially ended. Ti Leiyun decisively said, Elder Zhao, our heavenly all palace has won this duel. Leave the items and go. The Tien Lin sect disciples shouted in protest, he's not a disciple of heavenly all palace. Our palace has never accepted male disciples, this doesn't count. Another chimed in, right. At most he's an outer disciple, how can he represent heavenly all palace? Thien Van smiled contemptuously, Elder Zhao, your disciple is slapping you in the face. Zhao Hualong asked sternly, how do you know the secret martial arts of my Tien Lin sect? Thien Van scratched his head and replied innocently, such a simple technique, you learn it at a glance. Oh, so that was your sect's secret art? That's all it is. Zhao Hualong shouted angrily, you. The palace lord looked him squarely in the eye and said coldly, Elder Zhao, a loss is a loss. Leave some dignity for Tian Lin sect. Zhao Hualong pondered for a moment, then turned and threw the box containing the Fa Lin Dan toward Thien Van, ordering his disciples to withdraw. The box fell to the ground, and the Fa Lin Dan rolled to Thien Van's feet. He sighed softly and said, looks like I've made enemies with them again. Zhao Hualong inwardly seethed, wishing he could strike him into pieces. This guy, if he were a boss, who knows what treasures he'd drop. Scene change, Thien Van and the palace lord stood on a snow-covered cliff. She said gently, defeating 3 Tian Lin sect disciples in a row, your cultivation may have reached the peak of body refinement, right? Thien Van replied lightly, this might be a bit higher. Ti Lei Yun, somewhat surprised, said, first-tier spirit refinement. Thien Van, you clearly couldn't cultivate before. Tell me what happened. How did someone who couldn't cultivate suddenly break through to spirit refinement? Thien Van rubbed his nose and came up with a plausible excuse. Actually, a mysterious expert came these past days to help me, allowing me to cultivate and greatly increasing my strength. He thought privately, is this excuse too far-fetched? But I can't exactly say I transmigrated here. The palace lord guessed, a mysterious expert, could it be someone your father sent to help? Thien Van replied casually, maybe. That expert revealed no information, only told me to train diligently. Ti Lei Yun reproachfully, really, your formerly weak appearance really fooled me. Thien Van chuckled, I just wanted to give you a surprise. He thought to himself, indeed, can't keep up the act for long. Night fell, and when darkness descended, Thien Van returned to the rear compound. In his private room, lamplight spilled through the small window. Thien Van mused, finally I have time to open the level 11 gift pack. He opened the system to check, and the info panel immediately appeared with the updated stats. Thien Van clicked the gift section, curious, I wonder what this pack will give. He couldn't help feeling excited. The system announced, congratulations, you have received, primary mastery of all professions, primary pill refining technique, primary forging, primary divine script. Received 1 chance to draw from a level 15 gift pack. All items quickly merged into his consciousness. Though only basic skills, they brought great benefit. Moreover, in this world they were equivalent to 3rd grade level. In this world, professions are ranked, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, Grandmaster, Sect Master, and Creator. Thien Van understood that reaching 3rd grade in any field was already impressive, at least no longer a novice. He reviewed the system panel. Heavenly All Palace had always relied on outsiders to refine pills and forge weapons, but from now on perhaps that wouldn't be necessary. Even basic skills could be leveled up with practice. Thien Van was ecstatic, another draw opportunity, I can't waste it. He opened the draw system and spun the luck wheel, muttering, divine skill, divine skill. I want a divine skill. The system quickly returned the result, divine skill. Congratulations to player Dyke Thien Van for receiving the divine skill, Lucky Light Ring. Thien Van cheered with joy, I actually won a divine skill. The system explained, Lucky Light Ring increases luck 5-fold and consumes 1 mad value point per second. Thien Van opened the secret tome and saw a lucky cat spirit rise up. He muttered, luck increased 5-fold, will I literally pick up money on the road now? He pushed the door and stepped outside to test the effect. Just out on the porch, the system kept announcing, consumed 1 mad value point. Consumed 1 mad value point. Consumed 1 mad value point. Thien Van exclaimed, as expected for a divine skill, even its consumption is divine. At that moment, Lu Mong Lin stood outside calling, young master. Thien Van replied, little Lin sister. She stepped before him and said, the palace lord sent me to inform you to come to the council hall tomorrow morning. Suddenly, little Lin tripped, and tumbled into Thien Van's arms, crying out, ah. At the moment their lips met, both flushed briefly and froze. Little Lin immediately jumped back and flusteredly said, ah, sorry young master, I didn't mean to. Thien Van watched the embarrassed girl run off and thought to himself, this romantic luck, could count as good fortune, not bad at all. Cut to the main hall, where a heated debate was taking place. One person opposed the palace lord, "This absolutely cannot be. It violates the rules and will damage our reputation." Another added, "Exactly. Dike Thien Van's cultivation is too low, how can he represent Heavenly All Palace to enter the ancient heaven trench?" As Thien Van entered, T. Lei-yun said, "Thien Van, perfect timing." She stood and loudly declared, "I have two decisions. First, to confer Thien Van as an official disciple of Heavenly All Palace. Second, to assign the quota for entering the ancient heaven trench to him." Her words stunned everyone. Thien Van was equally stunned. The second elder immediately objected, "I disagree. Even if he goes in there he'll have no advantage, it's a death sentence and a waste of the quota." The palace lord countered, "The ruins won't open for more than half a year. Now Thien Van has broken through to second-tier spirit refinement and qualifies to enter. What's the problem?" The second elder was startled. "What? He has broken through to spirit refinement?" T. Lei-yun added firmly, "Second elder, I know what you're thinking. You want to give this quota to your inner disciple. But this quota was earned by Thien Van winning 3 matches, it's rightfully his to receive." The second elder finally had no choice but to agree. The palace lord took a few steps forward and asked, "The quota for the ancient heaven trench will go to Thien Van, do any other elders object?" Everyone replied in unison, "No." T. Lei-yun patted Thien Van's shoulder and advised, "You must train diligently. The chance to enter the ancient heaven trench is a great opportunity for you." Thien Van replied confidently, "I will not let everyone's expectations down." At that moment, the system announced, "Main quest clue received, seize the ancient heaven trench. Rewards, control rights to the ancient heaven trench, 100,000 experience points, 10,000 mad value points, 1 infinite sword." Thien Van was extremely excited. Wow, the main quest finally unlocked. He wondered inwardly, control rights to the ancient heaven trench, can a ruin really be controlled? But just by looking at the rewards, he could tell the quest's difficulty would be high. The palace lord sat down and began the main business. "Everyone, next we will prepare to craft weapons. Has Master Kong, the invited smith, arrived?" The senior elder of Heavenly All Palace replied, "He is resting in the hall, you may invite him in now." T. Lei-yun turned to Thien Van and said, "I will ask Master Kong to make a weapon specifically for you. That set of fists is good, but having a sword or spear would be very useful in combat." Thien Van smiled and answered, "That would be fine." But he thought privately, not sure what good weapon he can forge. Frostbone fist may be mundane, but its power is terrifying. A disciple's voice rang from outside, "Master Kong has arrived." A bald man of short stature entered the hall. Someone respectfully said, "Master, please sit." Thien Van quietly observed Master Kong. His cultivation was not low, at least 4th or 5th tier spirit refinement, even higher than some elders present. Yet everyone respectfully called him Master, because he was a 3rd-grade smith capable of forging spirit weapons. The palace lord said, "Master Kong, please help us craft 3 spirit weapons this time, the price is negotiable." Master Kong sighed, "Spirit weapons aren't easy to make, so the price won't be low." He toyed with the prayer beads in his hand and continued, "I can make 3 spirit weapons, but there are 3 conditions. If you can't meet them, I won't be inclined to do it." T. Lei-yun asked, "What are the conditions?" Master Kong replied, "First, allow my disciple to join Heavenly All Palace as an outer disciple." She immediately agreed, "That is no problem." He raised his teacup and lightly blew on it. "Second, you must supply the crafting materials or the money, I will personally go and purchase them." T. Lei-yun said, "Very well. How much will it cost?" Master Kong answered, "Not much, 10,000 taels of gold will do." Hearing the figure, the palace lord was taken aback. 10,000 taels of gold. That price. She attempted to negotiate, "Could it be a bit less?" Master Kong shook his head, "This price is already low. Outside, each spirit weapon would cost at least 50,000 taels. I'm giving you a discount." T. Lei-yun sighed, "Alright, what's the 3rd condition?" She couldn't help feeling anxious. Though Heavenly All Palace was a large sect, paying such a sum at once was a significant burden that would strain future operations. He smiled faintly and said, "It's actually not difficult, I've taken a liking to one disciple here. If you allow me to form a mentor bond with her, I'll gift you the 3 spirit weapons. The palace lord asked, who is it? Master Kong pointed at Little Lean and said, it's her. The girl panicked and hurriedly ran to Thien Van, calling, young master. Thien Van thought to himself, if Little Lean agrees then there's no problem, but if she refuses and is forced, he would absolutely not accept it. The second elder spoke up to persuade Little Lean, being noticed by Master Kong is your good fortune, come over here at once. In her mind she calculated that Little Lean's talent wasn't high, marrying her off in exchange for 3 spirit weapons would be a bargain. Little Lean lightly tugged Thien Van's sleeve and whispered, I don't want to be married off anywhere. Master Kong, seeing himself refused, immediately grew angry, I am a 3rd grade creator smith. After following me you'll enjoy abundant resources, later I might even become a 4th or 5th grade master. Wouldn't you want to come with me? Little Lean gently replied, thank you for your kindness, Master Kong, but I do not wish to take a partner right now. I hope you understand. He rudely spat insults in her face, how pathetic. What, you're just a servant maid, and you dare refuse me? If you won't become my partner, then for this spirit forging task you can go invite someone else. Unexpectedly, the palace lord shouted, then get out of here. Old Kong turned and exclaimed in surprise, what? T. Lei-yun snarled, I called you Master Kong out of respect. I didn't expect you couldn't secure a marriage and would insult my disciple. With such manners, who would want you? He sprang to his feet and shouted, humph. Is this how you treat guests? You'll regret this. The second elder grabbed Little Lean's wrist and said, what are you thinking? This is Master Kong. If you can marry him it's like a sparrow turning into a phoenix, you'll get everything you want. Thien Van immediately stepped in front of Little Lean and coldly retorted, spare me the sparrow turning into a phoenix nonsense. Little Lean is already a phoenix, where's the sparrow? It seems Master Kong has done this before. He looked at Little Lean and said confidently, isn't this just forging a spirit weapon? I can do that too. The atmosphere in the main hall immediately grew tense. The palace lord thought to herself that Thien Van's words were likely more than mere politeness toward Master Kong. Becoming a creator smith isn't accomplished overnight, even with a stroke of luck, it would be difficult. Master Kong looked at him with contempt and said, with your temperament you think you can forge a spirit weapon? I've heard you're a worthless cripple. Does Thien Lin sect only send cripples? How could someone like you possibly win? Thien Van asked calmly, if I can forge a spirit weapon, what will you say then? Master Kong placed a sword on the table and replied loudly, if you can forge a spirit weapon, then I'll give this spirit weapon to you. I'll eat my hat. He thought to himself that he couldn't believe he'd been rejected by a servant maid and insulted by a cripple. Old Kong added a condition, if you can't forge it, then you must give her to me in marriage. How about that? He believed he had been very generous, and even if the girl later agreed, he would still treat her like a servant. Thien Van, furious, said, Little Lean is not a commodity. I will not bet her like that. If I fail to forge a spirit weapon, I will sever one of my own arms. Master Kong laughed, good, good. You have spirit. Sever an arm, then you'll be less than a cripple. If you regret it later and Heavenly All Palace doesn't give me a proper explanation, don't blame me for being rude. Thien Van replied loudly, no problem. He clasped his hands to the palace lord and said, please provide me the materials to forge a spirit weapon. I want to begin crafting one now. At that moment the system announced, player Dyke Thien Van has accepted the task to forge a spirit weapon. Effect, permanently indestructible, can be used to craft higher grade treasures, for pill refining, or as an attack tool at mundane grade. The second elder was furious, are you crazy? You dare say that? Apologize to Master Kong immediately. Thien Van replied bluntly, Little Lean is not a tool for you to trade for spirit weapons. If Master Kong is so outstanding, why don't you marry her to him? The second elder snapped in anger. Lu Mong Lin was deeply moved, she hadn't expected the young master to stand up and defend her like that. The palace lord also nodded in agreement, that's right. I'll take you to the forge now so you can craft a spirit weapon for them to see. Thien then asked, Aunt, do you trust me? She smiled and replied, we're family, if not me, who would you trust? Very quickly, everyone went together to the forging room. T. Lei-yun said, these are the materials to forge a spirit weapon. But we've only prepared 5 sets, in case of several failures. Thien Van replied confidently, that's enough. For me, failure is not an option. Master Kong looked at him with skeptical eyes. He thought to himself that with his current level, the success rate of forging a spirit weapon would only be about 20%. Humph, this brat dares to speak so arrogantly. Thien Van asked the palace lord, what kind of weapon should I forge? The palace lord answered, a long sword. Heavenly All Palace basically all use long swords. Thien Van nodded in agreement. He took the materials and stood before the furnace. He calculated inwardly that the furnace's fire was ordinary, so the difficulty of refining would be considerably higher. Master Kong sneered, humph, putting on an act. Let's see how long you last. He believed the brat was only putting on a show, trying to force a bargain, or stalling for time. The second elder also showed his displeasure, Palace Lord, you can't do this. I know you value him, but if he fails and offends Master Kong, and we have no weapons, how will we enter the ancient heaven trench? T. Lei Yun replied solemnly, I will bear all the consequences. The second elder said coldly, if you fail, we'll report to the elders, then everything will be decided by them. The palace lord only said briefly, do as you wish. Little Lean was somewhat anxious, Palace Lord, should I agree to Master Kong? T. Lei Yun said firmly, trust Thien Van. At that moment Thien Van felt a bit tense. He let out a soft sigh, then smiled, just do it, leave the rest to fate. He took all the materials and dumped them into the furnace. Suddenly, a deafening explosion rang out from the great crucible. Old Kong laughed incessantly, ha ha. So he's an idiot. Throwing all the materials into the furnace at once, truly the act of a fool. Seeing Thien Van sitting before the furnace circulating inner power, he continued to mock, even if you're trying to show off, you don't need to go this far. He stroked the prayer beads in his hand and shook his head, what a pity, the fine materials are ruined. If it were me, there would at least be a 20% success rate, I could have forged a spirit weapon. Now it's just a pile of trash. But immediately after, Old Kong suddenly froze. He discovered Thien Van was controlling the essences of the materials, condensing them together. He cried out in astonishment, impossible. Doing that requires extremely strong control. The senior elder was shaken inwardly, could it be, it's really about to succeed? The second elder now also realized that this brat not only had considerable cultivation, but knew how to refine weapons. Could T. Lei Yun have been hiding his talent all along? At that moment, a long sword gradually took shape, surrounded by blazing red forging fire. Thien Van said in a low voice, prepare, it's almost out of the furnace. The pressure in the crucible surged violently. The sword suddenly shot straight into the air, the spirit aura from its blade radiating intensely. The sword fell to the center of the room, to the astonished gazes of everyone present. At that moment, the system announced, congratulations to player Dyke Thien Van for completing the task. The system announced, congratulations to player Dyke Thien Van for completing the task, receiving 5,000 experience points and the skill Immortal Flame. Thien Van couldn't hide his joy, very good, the skill is in hand. Primary forging technique, proficiency 10 to 1. He turned to Master Kong and said, confirm this for me, is this a spirit weapon or not? The palace lord picked up the sword, examined it carefully, and said, this truly is a spirit sword. Thien Van looked at Master Kong, do you want to try it? He gritted his teeth and replied, no need. Then he pointed at Thien Van and shouted, I think Heavenly All Palace deliberately let this brat pretend not to know refining so they'd bully me. Thien Van said coldly, did I ever tell you I didn't know how to refine? If you play, you must accept the outcome. Hand over the spirit weapon, and remember to use your head when you leave. Old Kong continued to rant, don't bully me so outrageously. I lost this round because you set a trap for me. You never sincerely invited me to forge weapons. Thien Van sneered, ridiculous. If you hadn't forced people so much, why would I step up? Although Heavenly All Palace is full of women, the women here are the true masters, not you. He paused, voice firmer, women also have the right to choose for themselves, they are not commodities. I hope in future you will show women some respect. He shouted loudly, now you can get out. Don't forget to use your head on the way out. Master Kong threw several beads to the ground and growled, telling me to use my head? You don't even have the right. The palace lord immediately spoke up, do I have the right or not, Master Kong? The agreement was made, shouldn't it be honored? Earlier, Dike Thien Van had wagered that he would sever one of his own arms. And yet Master Kong intends to settle for leaving just one spirit weapon. Realizing he had no argument, he immediately turned and left. Fine. I won't haggle with you today. I still have spirit weapons to refine. I'll remember you, this won't end so easily. Thien Van asked coldly, are you going to threaten us and then leave? As soon as the words left his mouth, he kicked straight into the man's back. Get lost. Old Kong was kicked flying out into the courtyard, screaming, "Arg!" Seeing this, the second elder worriedly said, Palace Lord, isn't this a bit extreme? Master Kong also holds considerable status in Heavenly Moon City. What if he really hires people to pressure us? Thien Van replied firmly, I'll take full responsibility for this. He calmly added, I'm only an outer disciple, what I do has nothing to do with Heavenly All Palace. The second elder showed displeasure, you really can forge spirit weapons, but overall you're not much higher than Master Kong. That won't create a large advantage, and you have no connections. Heavenly All Palace's situation going forward is worrisome. Thien Van stepped to the materials rack, took additional ingredients and asked, you mean if my level is much higher, they won't dare say anything, right? If so, I'll forge several more spirit weapons for the elders to inspect themselves. The second elder exclaimed in surprise, what? Thien Van put all the materials into the furnace, then sat cross-legged and cultivated. A white flame appeared in his hand, which gradually grew larger. He fed the flame into the crucible. Immediately, the fire flared violently, its might shaking the space. Everyone exclaimed, what kind of flame is that? The palace lord was also astonished. She thought to herself that she hadn't expected Thien Van to control such a special blaze. That meant he hadn't shown his full power when facing Master Kong earlier. Only Thien Van knew this was the immortal flame, a rare treasure. At that moment the system announced, congratulations to player Dike Thien Van for gaining 50 proficiency points. He examined the result in his hands. It was an ordinary long sword, but it was a mid-grade spirit weapon. The second elder had realized that too. Thien Van turned to the three senior elders and asked, with skill like this, how does he compare to Master Kong? The chief elder sighed, I'm thoroughly convinced. The second elder pondered for a moment, then said, Palace Lord, if there's nothing else, I will take my leave. From now on I will follow all your orders. Thien Van rolled up his sleeves and said, then I'll use the remaining materials to keep forging so all the sisters can have spirit swords. I want to see who still dares to bully Heavenly All Palace after this. At that moment the system displayed another message, congratulations to player Dike Thien Van for accepting the task, complete the forging assigned by T. Layun. Reward, 5,000 experience points, T. Layun's favorability plus 10. Thien Van was slightly surprised, another task. This time it even includes favorability. He was curious, can I actually see the Palace Lord's favorability toward me? Thien Van glanced at T. Layun, and the information immediately appeared, favorability, 330. He thought to himself, what does 330 points even mean? The system promptly explained, favorability levels, 10 points, casual acquaintance, 100 points, good friend, 200 points, family/lover, 300 points, inseparable through life and death. Thien Van asked, inseparable through life and death. His face flushed suddenly, and an indescribable joy rose in his chest. He hadn't expected the Palace Lord's favorability to be so high. The system announced, congratulations to player Dike Thien Van for completing the task, receiving 5,000 experience points and an additional 10 favorability points from T. Layun. Congratulations to player Dike Thien Van for rising to Tier 2 of Spirit Refinement. Primary forging technique, proficiency reached 30 out of 1,000. Thien Van sat beside the pile of materials, rummaged for a while, then said, are the materials all used up? The Palace Lord inspected the swords and replied, for now they're gone. But I really can't believe they all succeeded, these are all mid-grade spirit weapons. Thien Van laughed heartily, as long as you let me forge, quantity is no problem. Oh, are there any spirit medicines? I can also refine pills. T. Lei-yun rejoiced, really? Then Heavenly All Palace won't need to beg favors from others anymore. She opened a sheet of paper to examine and said, it's just that right now we don't have spirit medicines. I'll immediately send people to buy them, including materials for forging. Thien then asked, send people to buy. Then an idea occurred to him, Palace Lord, how about I go buy them? I can sell these spirit weapons to exchange for materials so we can forge even better things. T. Lei-yun nodded, you can go, consider it a training opportunity. Unfortunately I can't descend the mountain with you. I'll send 2 people to accompany you. They are teammates for the upcoming expedition into the ancient heaven trench. Use this chance to get to know them so you coordinate better later. The 2 girls stepped forward. The girl in green was Qin Shui, favorability 32 points, with a rather reserved expression. She said coldly, greetings, young master. Thien Van clasped his hands in salute, senior sisters, please take care of me. He thought to himself that their favorability had improved since their first meeting, perhaps the forging episode changed their impression of him. The palace lord handed him a storage ring and said, Thien Van, take this storage ring. Inside is some gold and the spirit swords you previously forged. Thien Van cupped his hands, many thanks, Palace Lord. He thought inwardly that the thing was truly convenient, it could hold a lot of items, which would be troublesome to carry otherwise. He said solemnly, when we return, I will definitely bring back plenty of spoils. At that moment the system displayed, task accepted, buy materials and return to Heavenly All Palace. The system announced, task completion rewards, 10,000 experience points, 1,000 gold, 1 lottery draw chance, favorability plus 20. The carriage set off quickly. Thien Van looked out the window and asked, we're heading to Thien Phong City, right? An Lin replied, yes, young master. Thien Phong City is the busiest trading hub in this region. Thien Van thought to himself that Master Kong, who had been chased off earlier, seemed to have ties with some of the city's powerful families. He hoped to avoid running into him. The anger in his chest hadn't faded. If he weren't worried about causing trouble for Heavenly All Palace, he would have acted already. The carriage quickly entered the city. Thien Van stepped down, looked around, and exclaimed, Thien Phong City is indeed lively. Suddenly, the sound of pounding hooves came from afar. The driver shouted loudly, everyone clear the way. Don't block the road. The townsfolk panicked and hurriedly scattered to both sides. Cries rose everywhere. A red carriage hurtled into the city. The driver yelled, get out of the way, Someone recognized it and cried out in alarm, that's the carriage of the Don Divine sect. The driver continued to threaten, if you don't want to die, clear out. Terrified, everyone immediately got out of the way. Someone muttered in annoyance, who are they to be so arrogant? The person next to them quickly gestured, shoo. Keep your voice down. An Lin watched and said softly, no wonder they're so arrogant. That's the Don Divine sect's carriage, a force of considerable standing in Thien Phong City. Qin Shui added in a low voice, there's no choice, the Don Divine sect's strength surpasses Thien Lin sect by a rank. They're also one of the factions entering the ancient heaven trench, holding 4 quotas. Thien Van thought to himself, the carriage just now was clearly a spirit weapon they themselves had forged. Unless one were an ultra-powerful expert, it couldn't be destroyed. Just then, the system suddenly announced, do you want to accept the task, defeat the arrogant disciple Ma Luongben of the Don Divine sect? Rewards, 50,000 experience points, mastery, crafting skill, 500 proficiency points, 500 gold. Thien Van thought to himself, is this a random quest? Of course I'll accept. He hadn't expected the system could automatically detect such tasks. But this quest didn't seem like a mainline mission, you could choose whether to complete it or not. He smiled slightly. The reward was indeed generous. Besides, he currently had a lucky aura, wouldn't that let him get even more rewards? The 3 stopped before a grand, magnificent building. An Lin said, young master, we've arrived at Thien Phong Inn. Thien Phong Inn is one of the more upscale places in the city. Qin Shui said. "Young master, let's go inside." He replied, As soon as they entered, they heard a girl shouting loudly, "Lu Luke, you said you'd give 8 taels. I've heard from others what the price of spirit jade grass is." Q Lang Van grabbed Lu Luke's wrist and demanded loudly, "Each plant is at least 10 taels, what gives you the right to offer me only 3? He grabbed the girl's hair and sneered, "Thien Fong in only pays 4 taels for spirit jade grass now, I'm only taking 1 tael as my fee. Keep causing trouble and don't blame me for acting." Lang Van struggled, why did the price suddenly drop so low? Someone must have scooped them all up, right? Give them back to me now. Seeing Thien Van staring at them, Lin reminded, "This happens every day, young master, let's go inside." But he seemed not to hear and walked straight toward the little girl. Lin cried out, "Young master, the system has successfully accepted the task to help the virtuous girl Q Lang Van. Rewards, 1000 experience points, Q Lang Van's favorability plus 100, and 5 morality points." On the other side, Q Lang Van was furious. The girl bit Lu Luke's hand hard. He immediately let go, shouting, "It hurts, damn it." Lu Luke swung his hand to strike back, "Miss Q, how dare you bite me? Worthless, get out of here." Lang Van was terrified, raised her hands to protect herself, and squeezed her eyes shut waiting for the blow. But with a slap, the girl peeked open her eyes, and saw a big brother holding Lu Luke's hand tightly. He said slowly, "Friend, the price of spirit jade grass is indeed 10 taels of silver. Is what you're doing not bullying the weak by relying on the strong?" He snarled, "What's it to you?" Then he swung a punch straight at Thien Van. Lang Van rushed in to hold his hand back, shouting, "Careful." But the punch still came flying. Thien Van instantly slapped him so hard his teeth and lips rattled and his jaw twisted. One wasn't enough, smack smack smack, in a flash Lu Luke's face was struck with a series of slaps. He shouted resentfully, "You bastard, do you know who I am?" Thien Van circulated his chi, power radiated with impact as he replied coldly, "I don't need to know who you are. But I advise you to vomit up all the silver you swallowed, or I won't hesitate to give you a few more slaps." Sensing the cultivation aura on him, Lu Luke cried in fear, "You're a cultivator." He immediately knelt and kowtowed, repeatedly saying, "Sorry, please spare this servant. I absolutely won't cause trouble again." Thien Van said coldly, "Get lost." Before he could say a second word, Lu Luke fled pell-mell out the door. The system announced, "Congratulations to player Dyke Thien Van for completing the task, receiving 10,000 experience points, 100 favorability with Q Lang Van, and 5 morality points." Q Lang Van sat on the ground and took out a few ingots of gold. The girl held them out with both hands to Thien Van and said, "Benefactor, this is payment for you. I can't give you much, otherwise my younger brothers at home won't have enough to eat." He bent down and said to the girl, "I don't need the silver. I was wondering if you'd like to join our heavenly all palace." Lang Van clutched her skirt hem and hesitantly replied, "My talent is very low, there's no way I can join heavenly all palace." Thien Van turned to Lin and Qin Shui and asked, "Senior sisters, can she join heavenly all palace? Starting as a cleaning disciple, is that okay?" Lin replied, "That probably won't be an issue. Besides, junior brother has a reputation in heavenly all palace, bringing one person in won't draw criticism from the elders." He asked eagerly, "If that's the case, would you like to come with us?" The girl answered sadly, "But I can't leave my younger brothers unattended, so I'm sorry, young master." Just then the system announced, "Accept the task to help Q Lang Van. Completing it grants 10,000 experience points, plus 50 favorability from Q Lang Van, and increased morality value." Thien Van pondered. Another optional mission. He'd been curious what morality value meant, so he checked his own info. Player, Dyke Thien Van level, 12, Spirit Refinement Tier 2, Experience, 5225 MAD value, 670 morality value. Cultivation, Back Min Divine Art. Skills, Great Art Absorbing Essence, Eagle Claw Technique, Lac Vu Floating Swordsmanship, Cloud Step Weapon, Frozen Bone Fist Defensive Gear, Combat Boots, Snow Wolf Armor Divine Skill, Madness Type. Morality value, increases luck, the higher the morality, the luckier you are, applicable anywhere. Thien Van smiled contentedly. It seemed doing good could raise morality value, the exact effect was still unclear. Accept the task. Leaves drifted gently from the tree canopy to the ground. Thien Van said to the girl, then bring your younger brothers as well. Our heavenly all-palace can recruit a few more people. Lang Van exclaimed in surprise, really? He affirmed, yes. But right now we need to buy some supplies. The girl said shyly, then I'll wait for you outside. Suddenly, Thien Van grabbed the girl's hand and pulled her along. With me here, you're an honored guest, who would dare touch you? For the first time someone had treated her so kindly, and Lang Van smiled as she followed. But as they reached the gate, a loud shout rang out. Immediately after, a large hand blocked Lang Van. The girl was pushed back and tumbled to the ground. Lang Van cried out in pain, ah. The gatekeeper looked at her with disdain, sorry, our place doesn't welcome the poor. Thien Van questioned, she's with me, if I bring her in, that won't be a problem, right? He looked at him and realized he was a cultivator, then said, no problem. Immediately after, he changed his attitude 180 degrees, stepped forward to help Lang Van up, and sweetly said, oh my, how did this young miss fall? It's my carelessness. Great one, please do not blame me, come inside. As they entered, the man even thoughtfully reminded them, watch the steps. Thien Van growled, consider yourself lucky I spare your life. Lang Van was delighted, she really had made it inside. The interior displayed many items, swords, precious gems, pills. Lang Van bent down and stared attentively at a pill. Thien Van asked, do you want this? The girl replied embarrassedly, I want this pill. He asked curiously, what do you want this pill for? The girl answered honestly, my younger brother was poisoned. I heard this detox pill can cure it, so I want to buy it. Thien Van said confidently, if all that's needed is this detox pill, then take me to your brother and I'll treat him. Lang Van couldn't hide her joy, really? He confirmed, no problem. After I finish here we'll go right away. The girl was moved, thank you. Suddenly, a voice called from the other side, why is someone from the poor district in here? Master Kong, holding a bead string, sneered, Thien Phuong and has sunk to this? Truly unlucky. Thien Van exclaimed, oh, so it's Master Kong. He saw him and was also very surprised, you. What are you doing here? Thien Van demanded, is there a problem with me being here? The man, upon seeing Lang Van, shouted loudly, why are you letting people from the poor district in here? Where are they? The servant immediately ran in. Master Kong scolded, what rotten luck. Drive these people out for me. The man promptly obeyed. The servant stepped forward and barked, this is Thien Phuong Tower, not a place for the poor. Please leave. Thien Van felt annoyed. Master Kong was an honored guest here, so no wonder the guards obeyed him. He asked coldly, on what basis do you assume she's poor? The man replied, she couldn't even buy the cheapest trinket. I don't want to make things difficult for you. Lang Van sighed, let me go outside. Thien Van handed the girl 2 gold bars and asked the man again, how about now? The servant stared, looking from the 2 gold bars to Master Kong. Old Kong bellowed, this place does not welcome people like you, get out. Peasants are peasants, poverty reeks from their bones. Lang Van bowed her head, trembling slightly. Thien Van shot back loudly, really? Still better than some people, dressed in luxury yet less than beasts. Master Kong insisted, I am the honored guest here. If I say get out, you must get out. Someone, drive them out. Thien Van said, aren't you just an honored guest? Where is the steward? I have something to say to him. Old Kong sneered, you alone want to meet the owners. Those in the balcony looked down to watch the commotion. Just then, owner Luong entered from outside and asked gently, what's the matter? Old Kong immediately complained, it's Luong owner, you came at the perfect time. He not only injured me but also brought people from the poor district in here, disturbing other guests. Throw them out. Upon seeing Tan Tuet and Enlin, the owners guessed they might be people from Tien Tone Palace. At that moment Enlin spoke slowly, owner Luong, don't you think your honored guest is being rude? We are from Tien Tone Palace, what's wrong with bringing people in? Aren't we guests too? He smiled and replied, I see. No wonder you both have such an extraordinary bearing. Guests are guests, and being from Tien Tone Palace all the more. Why be upset? Anger only costs money. Master Kong threatened, owner Luong, I will leave if they are allowed to stay. Old Luong hesitated. Offending Master Kong for the sake of Tien Tone Palace seemed unwise. In the end, he chose money. The owners clasped their hands and said to the Tien Tone Palace people, we are truly sorry, please leave this place. An Lin shouted angrily, you are bullying people outrageously. Tien Van immediately stopped her, no need to rush, we can go somewhere else. He said sternly, owner Luong, remember your choice today. Letting some people stay is pointless anyway. Old Kong snorted and mocked, fight me. Tien Phuong Tower is my territory. Outside, Lang Van felt remorseful and said, I'm sorry, it's all because of me. Tien Van looked at the girl. Seeing her guilty face, he reassured her, don't blame yourself. Master Kong has a grudge against us, it has nothing to do with you. He gently patted Lang Van's shoulder, let's go elsewhere. I'll make them regret their choice. Tien Van led everyone to Tien Vu Tower. The shop manager politely asked, may I ask which young master this is? He interrupted and said, do you buy spiritual energy? I've come to sell some. With that, Tien Van took out a series of weapons he had forged for the manager to inspect. He thought to himself, if Tien Phuong Tower refuses to be reasonable, then use Tien Vu Tower to press them. The moment he saw the good wares, the shop manager said, honored guests, please come in and wait a moment, I'll call the owners right away. The manager quickly went inside. At that moment, the system notification confirmed acceptance of the task, help Tien Vu Tower pressure Tien Phuong Tower. Completion rewards, 50,000 experience points, plus 100 favorability with 2 Vu Vi, plus 500 gold, and plus 10 reputation points. Tien Van thought, 2 Vu Vi is most likely closely connected to Tien Vu Tower. It seems tasks appear everywhere, there are too many random tasks to possibly finish. The owner was a young woman in a green dress, coming down the stairs. Seeing the people from Tien Tone Palace, she said, sorry to have kept you waiting. I am Tu Vu Vi, the owner of this Tien Vu Tower. The moment Vu Vi saw Tien Van's swords, she immediately showed interest. These spiritual implements were all mid-grade. She examined them for a while and privately assessed, he's young yet able to craft so many mid-grade spiritual implements, truly not simple. If she could cooperate with him, they might earn a large sum. Vu Vi spoke, not bad, 10 mid-grade spirit swords. Do you intend to sell them to us? Tien Van replied frankly, as you see, these 10 spirit implements were all made by me. I want to cooperate with Tien Vu Tower, you provide materials, I refine the implements. Profit division and pricing are up to you. The only condition is the price must be lower than Tien Phuong Tower. Vu Vi inspected the goods and asked, young master, do you want us to snatch Tien Phuong Tower's customers? Do you have a grudge against them? Tien Van answered, more or less. So, do you want to take this deal? The girl smiled slightly, of course, I'm very pleased. A short while later, Tien Van told the 2 senior sisters, please help, follow 9th Miss and take her younger brother here to remove the poison. I can't leave at the moment. Tan Tuet immediately agreed, all right, we'll go now. Meanwhile at Tien Phuong Tower, Old Kong sat arrogantly and said, fight me? I'll make Tien Tone Palace unable to sell here. Owner Luong flattered, indeed, Tien Tone Palace doesn't have many refining masters, offending you would be unwise. As they spoke, a subordinate suddenly rushed in, panting, Owner Luong, bad news. The owner snapped, what's the hurry? Do you not know etiquette? He clasped his hands and said, Owner Luong, Tien Vu Tower has begun selling mid-grade spirit implements at a low price, only 10,000 liang. Old Luong and Old Kong were startled. What? Old Kong expressed doubt, are they crazy? 10,000 liang is hardly more than half the price of low-grade spiritual implements. The subordinate said, it seems to be the doing of a customer. In moments, they pulled our entire customer base over there. Owner Luong wondered, the doing of a customer? Who would be generous enough to sell at such a low price? The subordinate replied, it appears to be the person you previously expelled. Old Kong was astonished, what? It can't be him. Owner Luong's face darkened. Wasn't he from Tien Tone Palace? How could he sell spirit implements? Tien Tone Palace doesn't have that many spirit implements. He turned to ask Master Kong, or did we drive him to desperation? Old Kong sighed, perhaps we pressured him too much, so he did this. Let's see how many more he can sell. Although he said that, the prayer bead string in his hand trembled and he was inwardly panicked. Damn. Dike Tien Van really knows how to refine implements. Owner Luong immediately ordered, quickly buy all of them for me. The subordinate replied, understood. He ran off for a while and returned to report, Owner Luong, those spirit implements have sold out, but very quickly another batch appeared. He continued ordering purchases. A short time later the subordinate returned again, Tien Vu Tower has produced another batch of spirit implements. And so it went, just as they bought them up, more appeared. Owners, Tien Vu Tower has more again. Owner Luong slammed his fist on the table, still more. Could it be that Tien Lao Pavilion is also selling its spirit implements at low prices? After calming down, he suddenly realized something was wrong. This isn't the behavior of a fool, something's definitely off. Meanwhile, at Tien Vu Tower, the trading scene was bustling. A maid sighed, Miss, headquarters will surely recognize your status this time. Vu Vai, holding a ledger, said happily, luckily we have Master Dike this time. He arrived at our moment of greatest need. Although we're using our strength to pressure Tien Phuong Tower, this is exactly what we need. Ordinary refining teams have some failure rate, but Master Dike has never failed. His skill truly astonishes others. Tien Van was pouring all his effort into forging weapons, producing a wide variety of designs and functions. At that moment the system announced, congratulations to player Dike Tien Van, Advanced Novice Refiner has leveled up to Intermediate Refiner. Tien Van was delighted, thinking, Intermediate Refiner means I can craft high-grade spirit implements, maybe even supreme-grade ones. He opened the system to inspect closely and exclaimed, no wonder high-grade spirit implements, the success rate has risen to 5%, for supreme-grade it's probably only 1%. Inside Tien Vu Tower, Q Lang Van's voice rang out, Master Dike, this is my younger brother. The girl knelt, pleading, please save my younger brother. Tien Van helped her up and said, don't rush, let me assess his condition first. He pulled up the boy's trouser leg and saw a deep bite mark on the ankle and spreading bruising. Tien Van thought, it's definitely been poisoned, likely bitten by a venomous snake. The toxin has now entered the meridians and mixed with the blood. The boy had awakened and held Lang Van and Nay those hands, saying, sister, you're back. I think I dreamed we went to the lake to play, then into the mountains to pick fruit. Tien Van reassured him, don't worry too much. Lang Van looked at him with eyes full of hope. Tien Van circulated his energy, condensing a flame on his arm, and said, a detox pill could indeed save your brother, but I have a faster method to remove this toxin. Seeing this, Lang Van was extremely worried. This flame is normally used for forging, why is he using it to detoxify? The flame gradually entered the boy's body, seeping throughout his body to purge the toxin. In just a short while, the boy's face began to return to a healthy color. Lang Van exclaimed in astonishment, the venomous snake has been forced out. She asked joyfully, he's awake. Tien Van breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately the toxin wasn't too severe, or he might have been hard to save. The boy sat up and said, sister, I feel much better. Lang Van rejoiced, that's good to hear. She immediately knelt before Tien Van, thank you, Master Dike. I vow to serve you as a maid for life. Tien Van quickly helped her up, no need for that, I'm merely helping casually. Tu Vu Vai, standing nearby and witnessing everything, thought to herself, this technique is usually mastered only by alchemists, unless he also knows alchemy. Tien Van suddenly requested, Miss Tu, please give them a guest room so the siblings can rest a bit. She generously replied, of course. Then Vu Vai stepped to the door and said, follow me. Lang Van hurriedly supported her brother and followed, thank you, owners. Tien Van opened the system to check and noticed the success rate had increased. The base success rate for crafting high-grade spirit implements had been about 5%, but it had now risen to 55%. Almost a half increase. Does reputation value really affect the success rate of refining? If I add the lucky halo, wouldn't the success rate reach 100%? The incense stove scent wafted softly through the room. Wu Wei was sitting with the ledger when a subordinate came in to report, "Miss, their mid-grade spirit implement prices are 10,000 liang lower than ours." She sighed, "Mid-grade spirit implements are saturated now, it seems we can only pressure them so far." The other asked, "What if the high-grade spirit implement prices drop?" Wu Wei considered, "A high-grade spirit implement costs about 3 mid-grade ones. Reducing the price a little wouldn't mean much." At that moment, Tian Van's voice rang out, "What if we lower the price by 50,000 liang?" The owner analyzed, "The success rate for high-grade spirit implements is very low. Continuous failures would lead to heavy losses." Tian Van stood by the window, looked out, and affirmed, "No problem. I can handle high-grade spirit implements. In a short time I can pull all their customers here, whether you can keep them afterward depends on you." The owner set a condition, "As long as Master Dike can maintain a stable success rate, we can give you 4 parts of the profits, perhaps more than half." Outside Tian Vu Tower, leaves rustled in the wind. Tian Van's group quickly returned to the backyard to rest. Tian Van immediately began refining high-grade spirit implements. Initially the success rate was only 5%. He decided to consume reputation value, activate the lucky halo, and open berserk refining mode. The system instantly displayed, success rate 100%. Tian Van's eyes lit up, success. A loud sound rang out. Wu Wei standing outside also saw golden light emanating from the room. Tian Van stepped out holding the spirit implement, his face full of pride. It was a long sword of high-grade quality. Tan Tuet couldn't hide her astonishment and quickly approached to inspect the treasure. Did it really succeed? Wu Wei thought to herself, such a grandmaster-level figure must be courted in the future. At the same time, at Tian Fuang Tower, owner Luong was using an abacus to calculate. "This time we've cut prices and the customers have finally returned to us, unless they lower prices even further." He rubbed his brow and said, "This situation is largely thanks to Master Kong's contribution." Old Kong pointed forward, "Owner Luong, I suspect they're probing us. It could very well be a spy sent by Tian Vu Tower." Owner Luong gritted his teeth and barked, "Don't talk nonsense at a time like this." At that moment, a subordinate ran in from outside to report, "Bad news. Tian Vu Tower has begun selling high-grade spirit implements at prices 50,000 liang lower than ours." Master Kong shouted, "What?" Owner Luong trembled and bowed his head in thought, "This is clearly aimed at us, deliberately undercutting. If we don't match the price this time, Tian Fuang Tower's reputation will be severely affected." He asked, "Are the owners of Tian Vu Tower mad? Who is crafting these high-grade spirit implements?" The subordinate replied, "According to spy reports, it's Dike Tian Van, an outer disciple of Tian Tone Palace." Owner Luong immediately flung the abacus toward Old Kong, "Is it really him?" He was horrified, "Impossible. He's so young." Old Kong was sweating profusely, panicked inside. Even producing mid-grade spirit implements had cost him great effort, with a success rate under 3%. At that moment another subordinate ran in to report, "Owners. They've produced 4 high-grade spirit implements and are continuing. I hear the total has exceeded 10. Upon hearing this, everyone was astonished. Owner Luong roared in anger, "Kong Tang Fong. You're really something, you went and provoked someone like that against our Tian Fuang Tower." Old Kong stammered, "Owner Luong, I." Owner Luong pointed toward the door, "Enough talk. A guest like you we cannot host. Show yourself out." Old Kong was immediately driven out, muttering curses against Dike Tian Van as he left. Owner Luong privately calculated, that Dike Tian Van is clearly targeting Kong Tang Fong. If he stays here, Tian Fuang Tower won't be able to turn things around. It seems we have no choice but to invite Duan Shinsek for help. He said coldly, "Dike Tian Van, an outer disciple of Tian Tone Palace, is it? You think you can teach Luong Tian Ton how to behave? You're still green." After leaving Tian Fuang Tower, Kong Tang Fong walked out onto the street. He looked at the people lining up to buy spirit implements from Tian Vu Tower, fuming inwardly. "I had planned something cruel, now don't blame me for being ruthless." At that moment inside Tian Vu Tower, Tian Van poured all his energy into refining a magical treasure. But after working continuously for a long time, he began to grow exhausted. Tien Van panted repeatedly, thinking, my spiritual power is running low. Wu Wei hurriedly supported him and asked with concern, Master Dike, are you all right? Tien Van forced a smile, his expression fatigued, I'm fine, just been refining too long. At that moment the system announced, congratulations to player Dike Tien Van for completing the task of helping Tien Vu Tower pressure Tien Phuong Tower, receiving 50,000 experience points. Wu Wei's favorability increased by 100, reputation value increased by 100 points. Sure enough, Wu Wei's favorability rose to 142 points. She said softly, Master Dike, you should rest a bit. We've really thanked you a lot these past few days. Tien Van smiled after reading it, mutually beneficial, no need for formalities. He thought inwardly, a breakthrough. I didn't expect refining to level me up faster than killing monsters. He told the owner, I'll return to my room to rest for a while, then continue refining. Tien Van returned to his room and opened the system to check his updated personal info. Dike Tien Van, level 14, Luyin Lin Kai tier 4. Experience, 370. Madness value, 382 points. Reputation value, 20 points. Cultivation method, Bak Min Divine Art. Skills, Ing Zhao Gong, Lak Vu Floating Cloud Sword Technique, Happing Essence Great Art. Equipment, Frost Fist Gloves, Combat Boots, Snow Wolf Armor, Heavenly Angel Armor. Divine Tools, Berserk Mode, Lucky Halo. He felt extremely excited. After leveling up, the required experience increased significantly, the difficulty suddenly doubled and it was no longer as easy as before. At that moment, the window suddenly opened and a dark figure appeared. The system immediately warned, danger. Tien Van glanced back, an assassin. The heavenly angel armor activated automatically, light enveloping his body. The assassin lunged straight in to attack, but upon touching the armor, he was repelled and screamed, Tien Van thought, luckily I have the heavenly angel armor, otherwise it would have been dangerous. The assassin was slammed hard into the floor, writhing in pain. He scrambled up, moaning, ugh, this power. The system announced, the heavenly angel armor effect has activated, attackers will take reflected damage and receive counter damage in melee. The assassin, cough cough, he said in a distorted voice, your strength is even greater than I expected. Tien Van shouted loudly, who sent you here? He fell silent, then suddenly produced a dagger and launched a surprise attack. Tien Van leaped back to dodge the strike, quickly judging that his opponent's strength was at least tier 3 of the Luyin Lin realm. He immediately cast an ice technique. The assassin only managed a single cry before being frozen solid. Tien Van said coldly, still won't talk, huh? Very well. He swung his hand, entered berserk mode, activated the lucky halo, and focused everything on his attack. Tien Van sneered, then become my experience. He struck the block of ice with a powerful punch, shattering it. Chunks of ice flew out and slammed against the door with a loud crash. System notice, assassin killed successfully. Reward, 800 experience points, the skill Stealth Walk, a Cloak of Phantoms, and 300 madness points. Tien Van smiled, Stealth Walk and the Cloak of Phantoms are both divine grade. The system quickly detailed the items. Stealth Walk can completely conceal the body, increases speed by 2 tiers, and increases damage by 2 tiers. The Cloak of Phantoms grants immunity to all attacks for 5 seconds. The red dagger has a stamina recovery effect and carries poison capable of killing with 1 strike. Tien Van examined it carefully and said, sadly these weapons and skills can't be upgraded, their effects are fixed. It seems that so far weapons obtained from killing monsters can't be enhanced. But their grade is still good, so they can be used for a long time. He pondered, the assassin was sent to kill me, either by Tien Phuong Tower or by Master Kong. Suddenly, Tien Van looked down at the floor. Among the shattered ice lay a storage ring. He picked it up, inspected it, and said, only this storage ring remains. Tien Van emptied the ring onto the table. There were quite a few items. The spirit implements bore no marks, but judging by their quality, they were likely made by Kong Tang Fong. He stepped out of the window. I need to go to Tien Phuong Tower and find out who's really behind this. Activating Stealth Walk, Tien Van became a shadow and slipped toward Tien Phuong Tower. Below in the yard, Old Kong shouted, what are you doing up there? Such a commotion, aren't you afraid of being exposed? Kong Tang Fong ground his teeth and shouted, is this still the assassins of the Phantom's Alliance? Why are you so incompetent? Tian Van thought to himself that it was indeed his doing, no one else fit the bill. At that moment the system asked, accept the quest to kill enemy Kong Tang Fong. Rewards, 10,000 experience, 3 smithing proficiency points, 300 gold, and 3 madness points. Tian Van produced a short blade and chose to accept the quest. He became an afterimage and flew toward Kong Tang Fong, slid up behind him, pressing the blade to his neck. Old Kong sensed an extremely strong aura nearby and asked, who? He turned to look but saw no one. A feeling of unease rose within him. This place isn't safe to stay in long, I should leave. Tian Van silently held the short blade behind him. The system displayed, Kong Tang Fong, cultivation, Tier 2 Luyan Lin, skills unknown, overall strength unknown. He smiled inwardly, thinking that other details didn't matter, knowing Kong's cultivation at Tier 2 Luyan Lin was enough. A killing stroke pierced straight through his chest. Ah! Old Kong screamed. Tian Van gripped the hilt, manifested himself, and said calmly, Master Kong, trying to assassinate me? You're far from capable. He trembled, stammering, Dike. Tian Van. Kong Tang Fong collapsed to the ground, his body utterly lifeless. System notice, congratulations to player Dike Tian Van for killing Kong Tang Fong, received 60,000 experience points, 200 madness points, and a water god forge. Additionally, congratulations for completing the quest to kill Kong Tang Fong, received an extra 10,000 experience points, 500 madness points, 300 smithing proficiency points, and 300 gold. Tian Van took out a vial and poured the solution over old Kong's corpse. In an instant, white smoke billowed up and Kong Tang Fong's body was rapidly corroded, leaving no trace. He thought to himself that this came from the assassin, sure enough, a divine-grade item for destroying bodies. If such people lived, they'd be a future catastrophe. He must be more careful going forward. The moon was high. Tien Vu Tower grew noisy with the maid's shrieks. Vu Vai asked, Master Dike, what on earth happened? He replied calmly, nothing much, I just killed an assassin. She was surprised, an assassin, really? Could Tien Phuong Tower have sent them? He replied indifferently, that I do not know. In Tien Van's mind he calculated that with things settled for now, it was best to leave soon. One less problem is one less problem. The owners sighed, we're very sorry, Tien Vu Tower failed to protect you. As compensation, we'll split the profits, you take 60%, we take 40%. Tien then said, no need. Unless it's a powerhouse of Tier 8 or 9 Lian Lin, or someone skilled at dispelling assassins' concealment techniques, it's basically impossible to detect. This matter isn't Tien Vu Tower's fault. Vu Vai still looked guilty. But it's true we didn't protect you, the profit share should stand as proposed. This is the largest compensation we can offer. She thought privately that to get him to help revive Tien Vu Tower, giving up some profit was acceptable, she needed to find a way to keep him here. Tien Van firmly declined, I accept your goodwill, owners. We've bought enough materials, we'll depart tomorrow. This matter has nothing to do with you, so worry not. Realizing she couldn't keep him, Vu Vai courteously replied, very well. If Master Dike has decided, I won't press further. If you ever need Tien Vu Tower's help, we'll do our utmost. The next morning, when the sun rose high, the Tien Tone Palace party prepared to leave. Owners, we bid farewell. Vu Vai answered, you're welcome to return. Tien Vu Tower will always offer Master Dike the best prices. At that moment, a subordinate burst in to report, owners, Tien Phuong Tower is holding an auction, preparing to sell a shipment of top-grade spirit implements, and there are many other superior items. The catch is they all come from Duan Shen Sect. Now a great many people have gone over there, and rumors spread that in Tien Phuong City, aside from Duan Shen Sect spirit implements, everywhere else is selling fakes. The news shocked Vu Vai and everyone. The owners pondered, in Tien Phuong City, Duan Shen Sect determines spirit implement appraisal and ranking. Now to say Tien Vu Tower is selling fakes, aren't they siding with Tien Phuong Tower? Tien Van rubbed his chin and said, a disciple of Duanshan sect. Ma Luongbang. Wu Vai asked, Master Dike, do you know him? Wu Vai asked, Master Dike, do you know him? Tan Tuet suddenly spoke up, Junior Brother Dike, Ma Luongbang is one of the disciples Duanshan sect sent to participate in the ancient trials of Tien Tran. Who would have thought he'd be so arrogant, even denying all the spirit implements you refined? Young master, let's go to Tien Phuong Tower to confront him. Just then, a crowd rushed into Tien Vu Tower, shouting loudly, we want refunds. A disciple of Duanshan sect has declared that your superior spirit implements are fake, they're actually only equivalent to mid-grade implements. Another person yelled, exactly. No wonder they sold so cheaply, it's low-quality goods. Give us our refunds now. The crowd clamored, laying the spirit implements before Wu Vai and pressuring her. No wonder something felt off when using them, they're only mid-grade. I never expected Tien Vu Tower to sell fakes. The owners hurriedly reassured, everyone, we guarantee these are absolutely superior spirit implements, their power is completely fine. An angry man said, but disciples of Duanshan sect have declared these are all fakes. Duanshan sect is the most reputable force in spirit forging here. Do we not trust them and instead believe you? The man beside him chimed in, exactly. You are a bunch of frauds, give us our refunds now. Seeing the situation, Dike Tien Van stepped forward and said, owners, let them return the goods. Wu Vai hesitated slightly, then nodded, all right, I understand. She turned to the crowd, please don't be angry, follow me inside to complete the refund procedures. Tien Van murmured, looks like we can't leave yet. Once this is settled, we'll go to Tien Phuong Tower. Master Luong saw them and stepped out to greet them, clasping his hands, so it's the two owners. What can we do for you? Wu Vai spoke sternly, Master Luong, you obviously knew yet still asked. You spread rumors that aside from Tien Phuong Tower, everywhere else sells junk, and even claimed our superior spirit implements aren't genuine. Isn't that trying to squeeze our business? Suddenly a voice behind her rang out, I've inspected the superior spirit implements you forged. They're not superior at all, at best they're mid-grade. The two owners turned and saw a man enter. He introduced himself, I am Ma Luongbang, a disciple of Duanshan sect. He added coldly, true superior spirit implements have terrifying power, yours are far too weak. Tien Van laughed heartily, so do you want to spar a bit? Let's see whose superior spirit implements are stronger. Ma Luongbang frowned, are you issuing a challenge to Duanshan sect? Tien Van looked at him confidently and replied, so what if I am? I'll show you what genuine superior spirit implements are. Ma Luongbang ground his teeth and shouted, how daring. Give your name. He answered clearly, Dike Tien Van. The fake superior spirit implements you mentioned were forged by me. Old Ma glanced at him with half an eye, then suddenly covered his face and laughed loudly, ha ha. You're that bloodless trash from Tien Tone Palace. I didn't expect you could forge. I suspected you may have hired someone to forge them, then produced a batch of fake superior spirit implements like this. Tien Van showed no fear, folding his arms across his chest and coldly replied, bloodless trash. Where did you get this worthless rumor? Only fools would believe it. If you claim those spirit implements were forged by me, then let's duel, let's see whose implements are real. Ma Luongbang sneered, are you calling me stupid? Want to fight? Fine, but don't get others to do it for you, you must face me yourself. Tien Van confidently, my weapons were denied, so I must verify them myself. Whether your weapons are fake or mine are inferior, we'll find out. Old Ma laughed coldly, very well. Go outside and duel so everyone can see who fails. Tien Van nodded, no problem. The crowd quickly streamed out to the arena. An Lin judged, Ma Luongbang's cultivation is at least tier 4 Luyan Lin. Tan Tuet worried, junior brother, his cultivation is much higher than yours. If you get hurt, how will we explain it to the hall owner? Dike Tien Van drew his great sword and said confidently, you two elder sisters, rest assured, I will return. Don't worry. I'll make him pay accordingly. Ma Luongbang mocked as he saw him step into the arena, I thought you only knew how to hide behind women, seems you have some backbone after all. Tien Van replied, even if I hide behind women, it's still better than a blabbermouth. He raised his great sword, channeled his chi, and arrogantly said, "We'll soon see who's talking nonsense. This superior Te sword is my proudest work. Everyone witness whose weapon is more deadly." Tien Van also lifted his sword. "I'll use this heavy blade. Let's see how strong your so-called superior spirit implement really is." Wu Wei loudly warned, "This is just a contest, not a life-or-death duel. If you dare harm a guest of Tien Vu Tower, don't blame us for being impolite." Ma Luongbang sneered, "Just a little sharpening. He's not worth my killing." He thought to himself that a light sword versus a heavy blade could be suppressed by footwork alone against a brat. The onlookers began to jeer, "This guest of Tien Vu Tower is truly foolish. A light sword against a heavy blade, aren't you courting death? How could a disciple of Duan Shinsek lose? This guest is doomed to lose." Maybe he was provoked and recklessly lashed out. Ma Luongbang took the initiative to attack, shouting, "Swords and blades are merciless. Blame yourself for offending Duan Shinsek." Tien Van immediately raised his sword to block. The two weapons clashed with a piercing ring. Ma Luongbang's strike was immensely powerful. Tien Van had to brace himself to withstand it. He thought inwardly this wasn't a mere contest but an attempt to kill. He counterattacked at once. Ma Luongbang had to step back a few paces, thinking in surprise, "He can actually block one of my strikes." He continued to channel his chi, unleashing successive powerful sword chi waves, yelling, "Let's see how long you can take this." Tien Van parried while sneering, "Is that all this strength has? How disappointing." Seizing the opportunity, Tien Van surged forward to counterattack. His gaze turned icy as he gripped his sword with both hands and slashed straight ahead. Kang! Ma Luongbang's blade was instantly sheared in two. Tien Van activated his frenzy mode, his attack power skyrocketing. You! Ma Luongbang cried out. Tien Van chanted a formation, a booming explosion rang out. Dust and smoke rolled up in a thick cloud, making those below cough and choke. Wu Wei stood outside, her face full of worry. As the smoke cleared, Ma Luongbang propped his sword and sat on the ground, coughing continuously. He cried in alarm, "My sword!" Its blade had cracked and been almost completely battered. Tien Van slowly stepped before him and said coldly, "Is this the power of your weapon? Weren't you the one who said my spirit implements were fake?" He pointed his sword at him, "The truth is proven, the real junk is your weapon. How do you take that?" The crowd below began to murmur, could Tien Vu Tower really have been selling superior spirit implements? Impossible, that's Duan Shen sect, would they slander others? Ma Luongbang, feeling deeply humiliated, roared, "You dare wound me?" His eyes filled with hatred. Then he unleashed a powerful gale assault straight toward Tien Van. Tien Van quickly dodged, smiled, and delivered a counter slash, shouting, "Begone." Ma Luongbang's sword was cut to pieces, shattering into many fragments. He howled in frustration, leapt to flee. But Tien Van immediately pursued, and in the blink of an eye blocked his path. He raised his sword, "Get down." A massively powerful slash descended, sending Ma Luongbang crashing to the ground. Thud, sending rocks and dust billowing up. The two owners thought to themselves that Dike Tien Van was young but his cultivation was not low, and his forging skill even higher, undoubtedly a prodigious genius. Ma Luongbang lay at the bottom of a pit. Tien Van stood beside him, staring, and said nonchalantly, "You lost. Your weapon is worth nothing either." Hearing this, Ma Luongbang grew even angrier, tightening his grip on the broken sword hilt and snarling, "On what basis do you claim my weapon is weaker than yours?" No sooner had he finished than he seized the broken sword and lunged forward, attacking recklessly. But Tien Van was as fast as lightning, and with one stroke cut across his torso. Ma Luongbang hadn't expected Tien Van to dare kill, he only managed to utter, "You." Before falling silent, Tien Van said coldly, "You lost yet refused to admit it and tried to strike me from behind. Too bad, you don't have that right." The scene stunned everyone. Silence fell for a moment, then erupted into shouts, "Oh my God! A disciple of Duan Shen sect has been killed. That guest of Tien Vu Tower is too ruthless. Didn't you see he tried to kill? Being countered is normal. It's over, killed a Duan Shen sect disciple, he's surely doomed." System notice, Congratulations to player Dike Tien Van for killing Ma Luong Bang, gain 10,000 experience points, 1,000 gold, the heavenly script set technique, the wind driving sword art, and 400 madness value points. At the same time, mission completed, gained 50,000 experience, 500 smithing proficiency points, and 500 gold. Tien Van exhaled, so that's all Ma Luong Bang was? Master Luong cried out in horror, You killed Ma Luong Bang. He immediately ordered his subordinates, seize him and take him back to Duan Shen Sect. Master Luong calculated inwardly that Ma Luong Bang was a guest of Tien Phuong Tower. Now that he's dead, Tien Phuong Tower would be implicated. If Dike Tien Van escaped, the consequences would be severe. As the subordinates advanced, Tien Van raised his sword and said coldly, Arrest me. Let's see who dares. Master Luong shouted, You still dare resist? You killed a Duan Shen Sect disciple. If you don't obediently let yourself be bound, be careful you drag Tien Tone Palace into this. Tien Van retorted loudly, He could kill me, but I couldn't kill him. What kind of logic is that? Just because you have some power you can act arrogantly and tyrannically. Master Luong snapped back, so what? If you don't obediently raise your hands today, your Tien Tone Palace will be implicated. Wait for Duan Shen Sect to come knocking in person. Seeing his arrogance, Tan Tuet spoke up, Master Luong, your tone is grand indeed. Even third-rank forces wouldn't speak so casually. Do you now speak for Duan Shen Sect? Tien Tone Palace may be weak, but it has many connections. Among third-rank forces there are allies. If Tien Tone Palace is targeted, those forces won't stand idly by. Master Luong, hearing her, restrained himself somewhat. He said, Regardless, you must come with me to Duan Shen Sect. If not, don't blame me for being unceremonious. Tu Vu Vai thought to herself that if they truly went to Duan Shen Sect with Luong Tien Tan, Dike Tien Van would surely be finished. Killing their disciple would exact a heavy price. As she was about to speak, the maid behind cautioned, Two owners, don't get agitated. He's not worth doing this over. Duan Shen Sect is not something we can provoke. These words sobered the two owners. Aside from being unable to shoulder the responsibility of protecting him, even Tien Vu Tower behind them was a force they could not offend. She bowed her head and said softly, Sorry. Tien Van then stepped forward and declared boldly, I only represent myself. Vu Vai was a little startled. He loudly announced, From now on, I am no longer an outer-disciplined disciple of Tien Tone Palace. Let's see how you dare be impolite with me now. Tan Tuet hurriedly tried to stop him, Young master, don't be rash. Master Luong's face bulged with veins as he shouted, Good, very spirited. Men, seize him for me, capture him alive. Tien Van realized these people were dressed plainly but each possessed Luyan Lin Qi at level 4 or 5, and they had appeared at just the right moment. He circulated his Qi, equipped the Snow Wolf combat boots, and activated the Frenzy Experience and Frenzy Damage skills. The two sides immediately engaged in close quarters. Tien Van alone faced an entire team. He threw a punch that struck the leader's face. The lucky ring activated, and he instantly detected a man trying to ambush from behind. Tien Van delivered a kick straight into his stomach. Get lost. He fought east and west, scrambling through a group of Tien Phuong Tower's men. A very strong sword strike immediately wiped out two of them. Screams rang out. Ha! At that moment, the system announced, successfully killed a steward of Tien Phuong Tower, received 8,000 experience points, a third-grade recovery spirit pill, and 400 madness value points. There were still a few more on the other side. Seeing Tien Van charging with his sword, they shouted in fear, No, don't come this way. Then they turned and fled. Tien Van immediately executed the Tien Van step, leapt high into the air, then followed with a wind ring strike. A single sword cut sent the opponent to the netherworld. System notice, successfully killed a steward of Tien Phuong Tower, received 10,000 experience points, a double experience pill lasting 10 minutes, and 500 madness value points. Congratulations to player Dike Tien Van for successfully breaking through to level 5 of Luyan Lin Qi. Tien Van stood in the middle of the yard and shouted loudly, Anyone else? Seeing this, Master Luong was extremely shocked. What happened? The moves he used were ones Ma Luong Bang used before. he can't have learned Duan Shinsek's techniques. Tan Tuet and Enlin exclaimed, the young master is even stronger. Master Luong gritted his teeth and said, I didn't want to reveal my strength, yet you killed my steward. He drew out a treasured sword and shouted, Tien Phuong Tower will not let you off. Let's see what real strength you have. Tien Van was a bit surprised to see boss Luong Tien Ton's info. A boss? At that moment, the system displayed, do you wish to accept the quest to kill Luong Tien Ton? Quest rewards, 30,000 experience points, 10,000 gold, a strength belt, and a 5-fold experience card for 1 hour. He couldn't help but grin. Level 7 Lian Lin Chi, boss level character. Tien Van charged forward with his sword. Ha, didn't expect you to transform into a boss. I've been waiting for you. Master Luong shouted, don't get cocky. He unleashed a move, 10,000 swords into one, sword chi filling the sky and aiming straight at his opponent. Tien Van answered with a wind-driving slice. The two bursts of force collided, shaking the air. A loud explosion rang out, dust and smoke billowed up thickly. Tien Van was flung backward a distance, letting out a soft groan. He frowned, as expected, a boss isn't easy to take down. Master Luong continued the attack, die. Tien Van immediately raised his sword to block. He was truly very strong, completely overpowering the opponent. Tien Van braced himself to resist, but after a short while, he was knocked and his sword was flung from his hand. Blood flowed down from his hand, causing Tan Tuet and the others to be genuinely worried. Young master, are you alright? Tien Van shouted, don't you come any closer. I am no longer a disciple of Tien Tone Palace. I don't want Tien Tone Palace to be implicated, so don't get involved. He grit his teeth and said, please. Tan Tuet and Enlin froze, junior brother. Master Luong sneered coldly, how much strength have you got left? Now you don't even have a weapon, let's see what you'll use to fight me. Tien Van gave a rough chuckle, heh heh heh. Master Luong looked puzzled. Tien Van said, who said I don't have a weapon? He raised the equipped item, frozen bone fist. Seeing it, Luong Tien Ton mocked, you plan to fight me with that? He laughed triumphantly, fine, I'll oblige you, I'll make sure you die beyond recognition. Master Luong unleashed a move, 10,000 swords into one, and charged to attack. But as he closed in on his opponent, fear suddenly flashed in his eyes. Tien Van froze the tip of his sword and simultaneously executed the Absorb Star Great technique. As he struck, he lifted him high. The system continuously announced, gained 500 XP, 460 XP, 570 XP, 630 XP. Tien Van suddenly shouted, it's over. He seized him, and flung him forcefully downward. Master Luong fell like a lump of stone. Boom! Tien Van jumped down and stomped hard on him. Luong Tien Ton coughed up blood and weakly cried, how is this possible? Tien Van's eyes filled with wrath as he replied coldly, nothing is impossible. You're just too weak. He activated the lucky ring, channeled his inner strength, and delivered the final blow. Sensing Tien Van's overwhelming killing intent, Luong Tien Ton panicked and cried, spare me. I'll make Duan Shinsek stop pursuing you. But it was too late. Tien Van struck powerfully, hitting him squarely in the chest. The force exploded monstrously, sending everyone around into fearful stillness. At that moment the system announced, congratulations to the player for killing Luong Tien Ton, received 80,000 experience, 5,000 gold, a strength bracelet, a power ring, the martial art 10,000 sword sect, wind-driving ring artifact and 700 madness value points. Congratulations to the player for completing the quest to kill Luong Tien Ton. Rewards, 30,000 XP, 10,000 gold, a strength belt, and a 5-fold experience card for 1 hour. Congratulations to player Dike Tien Van for successfully breaking through to level 6 of Lian Lin Chi. Tien Van thought to himself, leveled up. Someone nearby exclaimed in astonishment, Luong Master's cultivation was at least level 7 Lian Lin Chi, how could he die like that? Tu Vu Vai thought silently, young Master Dike is truly formidable. Suddenly, she felt something amiss. This is bad. Vu Vai loudly warned, young Master Dike, hurry and leave. If you don't go now it will be too late. Tien Phuong Tower and Duan Shinsek won't spare you. Tien Van fell silent and pondered for a moment. He removed the storage ring and handed it to Tan Tuet, instructing, "Sisters, take this and bring it back with you. This disaster I caused, I will bear it all." Having said that, Tien Van used the Tien Van step and dashed off at incredible speed.